I don't think that we always hear about the Monday Night Wars, but I don't think that people talk enough about the territory wars. I don't think people talk about how different territories got together in order to do the Super Clash. If you remember the Super Clash, then you remember how WCCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, and all of those, and Mid-South and the Memphis territory, they got together to do their own pay-per-view back during the 90s, to try to compete with Vince, called the Super Clash. And that's where, I think it was Kerry Von Erich faced Jerry the Clean Lawler with the special guest referee match when they stopped the match due to loss of blood. I think that was it. I don't think they talk about that as much. Watching the WCW documentary, like I said, we've seen that documentary before, but like I was saying before we went on the air, I think it's a re-education process. Because if you really think about the kids of the early 2000s and and even in the late 90s, I'll say, they don't know how big WCW really was. But what says you guys, man?
Well, I think I saw a TikTok video about the Attitude Era and how big and influential that is. Well, we don't get the Attitude Era without WCW. We don't get Stone Cold Steve Austin. We don't get The Rock. The reason why that era came about was Eric Bischoff. Let's be honest. I mean, everybody can complain and talk about how WCW failed, but what Eric Bischoff and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall did with the NWO, it pushed. Again, we wouldn't have Austin or The Rock, or the evolution of The Undertaker, or a lot of things that we wouldn't have Mick Foley. We wouldn't have long-term storytelling like we do now. There's so many things that we wouldn't have without WCW. That's such a huge, how big that is and was. I mean, I remember being a teenager and literally like running. I either had two TVs on in two different rooms to run back and forth to watch both shows at the same time, or I was flipping back and forth constantly, or I recorded one on a different TV and watched it after I watched Raw or Nitro. Like, it was that huge.
What says you, Frank?
I think with WCW, I think in a way with WCW, they as big as it got and as important as it was, in the growth of professional wrestling as a whole, seeing different promotions going out and being able to compete and kind of, be able to hold their own. I hate it for WCW from the standpoint that ownership a lot of it was kind of like they did it to themselves, because it was like they thought they were a little too smart for their own good to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. But because it was like, because it's one of those like, doing Hogan and Goldberg on free TV. Which was it was a huge moment, but doing it on free TV when you could have did it at like I'm trying to think. This was.
They could have did that match at the beach.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that match at Bash at the Beach. Like, oh my god. Like if you look at the WCW pay-per-views at the time, if you wanted to pick out like their big four, the Bash at the Beach was like their equivalent, like to the WWE's like SummerSlam. Yeah. And like they could have like really, they could have tore the house down at a Bash at the Beach with that match. I understand why they did it, because at the time, that was like the height of, that was like one of the peaks of the Monday Night Wars. And I completely understand why they did it. Come on, us being Georgia boys, it was in the Dome. Like you can't really, you can't really argue a moment like that. But then it's just like, with the big moments, like Lex Luger winning the World Heavyweight Championship on a Nitro, or like just like the cruise. Like I feel like the cruiserweight division as a whole was just a moment, just
oh, dude.
Even though like ECW kind of introduced the cruiserweight division, it was WCW that really put the Rey Mysterios, the Juventud Guerreros, the Dean Malenkos, the Chris Jerichos, the Psychoses. The guys like that really kind of elevated their stature. So for so many good things WCW was actually able to bring to the forefront. I mean, it's a shame you have to remember stuff like Kevin Nash booking himself to be the one to beat Goldberg, and then following that up with the finger poke of doom, which I feel like started, in my opinion, that moment just started just like the downhill, just tilt and slide, and it was.
I want to make a little bit of a defense for that because there's a documentary series on the WWE, and it's like a roundtable discussion, and Nash talks about how there was a purpose to that, where they were going to have basically Nash win the title. Goldberg had to lose at some point, and then Nash explains like why they did the finger poke of death, and then Goldberg goes and smashes his hand through a limo, and he's out for like 7 months or something like that. So they were supposed to do an angle where like Goldberg had to go through the NWO again just to get the title back. And so you basically have a feeder system, and then Goldberg, cuts a vein or something like that, or a tendon in his arm because he decided to be an idiot and smashes his hand through a limo window. So then it looks dumb. So I kind of want to defend Nash in a tiny bit way for doing that. But what I don't, they made so many mistakes. I mean, not saving stuff for pay-per-views, not elevating, you have guys like Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, and I mean, as awful as that name is now, but still at the time, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko,
Perry Saturn,
like that, like guys that were ready to ascend to another level, and that was the problem with Nash and Hogan and their total creative control is that you can't elevate the younger guys then. And that was one of their biggest issues. I mean, I remember Jericho finally coming over to WWF at the time, and I was there.
You in history.
I was there, and it was unreal. It was like,
and that definitely was unreal. I remember it too. For sure.
It's a top route. It's a top 5 return in the history. It's a top 5 return in my opinion ever. I mean debut. It's a top 5 debut like of all time in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I would definitely say that right up there with the Kane debut in '97 and
absolutely,
obviously, but like I mean, like, the way that was projected, the whole Y2J theme, with the way it was projected, the way that he came in and 2 years later to win the Undisputed Championship for the first time and beat Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night. But yeah, that was just different timing right there.
And then when the WCW finally decided, when WCW finally decided to like put like newer faces on the map, I mean, Bischoff and Vince Russo and that horrible.
I think it was too little too late. I think it was too little too late.
Exactly, that horrible New Blood angle. Like, who the hell is Mike Sanders? Who cares? Like, who cares? Like, I mean, how do you make Billy Kidman versus Hulk Hogan believable? Like, how do you do that?
I think WCW, they put themselves in a trick bag right when Ted Turner made the call to Vince McMahon saying that I'm in the wrestling business and whatever, and then Vince replied, I'm not in the wrestling business, I'm in the entertainment business. You know what I'm saying? So he was thinking ahead of time, man. Like that's what it was. Vince was way ahead of the curve than anybody that ever created WCW. They dropped the ball on the Undertaker in the 80s.
Yeah.
They dropped the ball on so many people. Come on, like
But if you I want to go when you look at the Undertaker as a whole, that character shouldn't have succeeded the way it did.
Why you say that? Why you say that?
The longevity that it had,
the longevity. I probably agree with you in terms of having a character like that to having a character to be relevant for that long with pretty much somewhat of the same gimmick and re-entering the same gimmick. I think he brought elements to wrestling that would a little bit more that made it look a little bit more serious, because there were people in the 90s that, you know, they didn't know where that character ended and where that character began.
Yeah.
And I think that was the allure of it. But like, it was at a time, like at least for 15 years, you couldn't even approach the Undertaker with an autograph or anything like that.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
He didn't start doing really anything until after he retired. And the other thing too, his career was it. If you look at the first half of his career compared to the second half, his first half career is terrible compared to
it's terrible compared to it's terrible compared to the second half. It wasn't terrible, but when you compare, it wasn't terrible, but I know what you're talking about. Compared to how he elevated the character, like, if you want to say, okay, what would you?
I'm gonna take a guy. So you got to define terrible. I'm like, so you talking in terms of the matches?
Yes, the second half of his career, match-wise, was way better than the first.
Oh God.
Okay, all right. Okay, so
because you got to realize he had a new generation guys. He wasn't the main great matches that he had was with Shawn Michaels. You know, at Ground Zero and Bad Blood. And let's not undersell, you know, the matches he had with Bret Hart. The other guys, he had to really match up with monsters, you know, to make you believe that you could beat them. You know, you had to match him up with a Psycho Sid. You had to match him up with
Yokozuna.
Yeah, with Yokozuna. You had to match him up with Kevin Nash, a.k.a. Big Daddy Cool Diesel. You had to match him up with something. You got to remember how big The Undertaker was. Well, shit, the hell it is. I mean, he reminds you of that
exactly.
I mean, he reminds you of that big, huge dude that's in the bar.
Let's listen
all day. You know what
I'm saying? Champ, you telling nothing but the truth. Listen, all the 6'10", about 300 something plus, especially in the 90s, and when you had to kind of be bulky. But I think we kind of underselling in terms of the gimmicky matches that made the WWE usher in that edgy era. I think we have the Undertaker's character alone to thank for that. I mean, come on, are they doing casket matches anymore? Are they doing buried alive matches anymore? Are they doing boiler room matches anymore? Like,
you really can't right now too much. You really can't.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is that the character alone, like, made it more believable. Like, I remember when Foley first came in '96, and this is right after Champ was just talking about all the big bulky guys that he had to work with. The only active guy that was like his size that he worked with was Kane. Yeah. Everybody else, bro, like after the fact, once Mick Foley came on, Mick Foley took chances that a lot of wrestlers didn't take, and I think he made he brought in the obviously the ECW style, and his crash type of style made the Undertaker look a little bit more vulnerable, especially in '96. When I look back at that boiler room match, the first couple of matches that they had, man, those were some hella matches. I thought those matches was outside of the '98 match. I thought those matches was right on par with the Shawn Michaels matches in '97.
Absolutely.
Storytelling. Like if you go back and watch that boiler room match, like I actually argue, I don't think Taker's career, and this is going to sound pretty kind of hot takeish, but I don't think his career really started like how we know it until
Mick Foley came around.
Until Foley came around. Because if you go back and watch that boiler room match, like when Paul Bearer turns on him, like,
oh yeah, no,
dude,
I don't think nobody saw that coming.
That was emotional. Like that was that wasn't supposed to. And I think that whole rivalry is what really took his career in a completely different path. Like he had good matches prior to that. Like he had matches with Bret Hart that were really good. He had matches with Diesel that were really good. but his match quality really didn't start taking that upward, like where basically you could count on him for a 4 or 5 star match with guys that he was in until Foley showed up.
Yeah.
That's true, and I think it made the matches with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock because obviously like their style was more. It was kind of like Vince what's it said Vince Russo was basically coming in, turning the WWE into the Jerry Springer show, which was funny to me. But at the same time, it kind of worked because it worked in the edginess of the Stone Cold Steve Austin era and taking a match anywhere, and the Undertaker making him a little bit more verse. Because outside of the edgy, including the edgy matches to put somebody over, like a Mick Foley in the '96, like a Shawn Michaels in '97, even though he beat the hell out of him in that Hell of a Cell match, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin over in '98 at SummerSlam, or like a Rock over on a Monday night against him on Monday Night Raw. So I personally believe, I think that era, I think from the time that Mick Foley came all the way to probably the beginning of the what's the era that I'm thinking of, the beginning of the Attitude Adjustment era.
Yeah.
I think that was a time for a lot of the calling cards, like the Mick Foleys, like the Shawn Michaels, like the Rocks and the Stone Colds, to be put up more, and basically Undertaker to be that more consistent guy to just be there and guide them. You know what I'm saying? Like that, and make it okay. You're not going against giants. You're not going against 300-pounders no more. You're going against guys that we're trying to boost as, some of the biggest baby faces in the history, of our industry. And it basically made dollars on top of dollars. Like come on, Rock, Stone Cold, Mick Foley. Who don't like them now? Like, come on.
Yeah.
And
yeah, man. Speaking of new blood, man. Hey, Leaf, welcome to the show, man. Hey. Appreciate you coming, man. But I not only gotta introduce Lee, but I gotta introduce the TikTok crew. We used to go live every single Sunday on TikTok at the NFL Sunday, and you will see that again this coming year. Only this time it will be on YouTube, my friends. It will be on YouTube. So we'll start off with Flash.
Appreciate it.
Start off with Flash, man. Tell the people, man, where to follow you at, a little bit about you for the new audience.
So you can check me out at on TikTok at Flash22, all underscores in Flash between the letters, and it's just a lot of sports commentary, smattering of politics here and there, but mostly sports now. You also can see my channel, my other TikTok channel, Flashbod to Radbod, where I'm kind of trying to get back into shape after suffering from psoriatic arthritis. I'm just now getting together my YouTube channel, and I have some ideas come up, like possibly a fantasy football segment with a friend of mine. You can also follow me on Instagram too, same thing, Flash22, all underscores there. And just a little background, quick, I coached football for 5 years. Played basically every sport you can think of except for hockey. But I'm actually going to end up playing hockey this fall because my daughter plays hockey. So count that as in like that's going to be a check-off thing. So, sports and especially football is like 90% of my brain. So I'm glad I get to talk about it.
Yes, indeed. And I cannot forget about my own DSGB. Down South Georgia boy, my main man, Frank, a.k.a. BRL Sports, man. Tell the people a little bit about yourself for the new viewers. We are on episode 10 now. So tell the new people who may be tuning in for the first time a little bit about yourself, bro.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely want to just shout out my other, my pages where I'm usually at. BRL Sports is the TikTok handle, of course. Link trees in the bio, Big Shug 1122. There you can go to the IG. That's Drell 112285. Dre 2285 is the Twitter, and I also have a BRL Sports Facebook page as well. Got into TikTok, started creating videos around like 2020, and I would say I really didn't take off. I had a video that went viral that I do edit with We Hoopin'. Basically what it was he was giving his top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and I gave my top 5 quarterbacks of the league. This was after the 2020 season, and I think really since then, the video, I started kind of going full bore at it, and then I got a little bit of a following, and definitely I've always been a sports head. Played baseball growing up. Played a little football in high school, not too much, but I've always been a sports head, whether it was baseball, football, basketball, kind of dibbled, kind of looked, a little bit of hockey every now and there, particularly around Stanley Cup playoffs. Always been a wrestling head. So mainly don't be surprised if you see about a good 2 to 4 wrestling videos a week, because I'm definitely a wrestling head. But yeah, that's pretty much a little bit about me. Champ represents Columbus. I represent Madison, but it's still 706 crew all day, every day.
Exactly.
And it's like I always say in my videos, I stand by this motto, and that a topic not thought about is a topic not talked about. Shout out to the crew, to any new viewers out there for the first time, and Leaf. Pleasure being on here with you finally. And I'm just ready to get this bad boy. I'm ready to get this thing rolling.
And like I said, we have Mr. New York City, the new blood. Leaf, tell the people a little bit about you, man.
Well, it's not New York City, it's Brooklyn. The only reason why I say Brooklyn, because obviously I promote the Brooklyn Nets. Everybody knows how I feel about the Boston Celtics and a lot of other teams. I also promote the Green Bay Packers as well. I've been a Green Bay Packer fan since 1995. Back when we was in the house and we had either Madden or Tecmo Super Bowl. So definitely the biggest football fan I know is my father. So definitely played basketball growing up, but he wouldn't let me nowhere near football. So definitely big time wrestling fan. I kind of always have been. I've always been in the history like WWE, WCW, all of that. YouTube.com/@Leaf4788. That is my handle. You can see me. I post mostly net stuff and Nets videos and everything. But I'm starting to get in the habit of promote more. Just trying not to be just trying to be less biased nowadays. And just trying to keep my cool, because I could get loud. Not necessarily by myself, but get loud on other people's
I know. Yeah, we
I can definitely
had a few incidents in the past couple of shows, so we had a few incidents in the show. You know what I'm talking about. So
I do know what you're talking about, but I'm a mild. Listen, I'm a mild mannered citizen on my own page. I just go to everybody else's page and mess stuff up. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do. But definitely shout out to Champ for having me here. Shout out to BRF. Shout out to Flash, man. Appreciate good meeting you, brothers, man. And definitely I'm looking for also twitter.com/Leaf4788 and Twitch. I will be doing college football 25 this year. And I will be getting into that. Big time gaming fan too. I gotta get off 2K somehow, some way. So I gotta get on some foosball and get on the gridiron, man. So definitely looking forward to seeing a lot of people over there. So,
are you excited about that game?
I am. I just heard that they may not have the mascot games because they weren't able to put NCAA. There's a reason why they put college football, and so I'm guessing they're working on licensing a little bit more. But EA was definitely trying to get the licensing so they could get the mascot games, because the mascot games was hella fun when I last played them.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been debating on getting an Xbox 360 just so I can play my old NCAA games.
Yeah.
I'm praying that this game
it's definitely listen, I'm praying that this game is definitely gonna hit. I'm praying that it's at least a base hit. It don't have to be a home run, but it got to be at least a base hit, ground.
I need a ground rule double.
I was about to say that.
I need a ground rule double.
I was about to say a ground rule double, but
I mean, looking at the gameplay early, I mean, what I was worrying about with 25 was it was just going to be like a Madden rehash. But then you think about it, back in the day, those college football games weren't Madden rehashes. They did their own thing. So I mean, I'm with y'all. I'm expecting the ground. I'm honestly expecting. I'm expecting this to be a home run. I'm expecting this to knock this out the park. I really am. Cause just looking at some of the gameplay, it looks fire. So
Yeah.
I might have to snag a copy of that, like straight up.
Listen. I'll tell y'all this, man. Listen, I've been away from Madden has pissed me off for so many years. Like college football, if it wasn't for college football, I wouldn't even look at Madden. Be honest with you. The fact that Madden and college football is in a bundle is probably the only reason why I would even consider getting Madden this year. So definitely looking forward to getting in the gridiron, man, with some of the what I believe is some of the greatest football talking heads that I know. Champ, obviously, who I still have as the quarterback to lead the San Francisco 49ers in his prime, for sure. So definitely looking forward to chatting it up with you guys, man. Great podcast y'all got here, man. And shout out to Georgia, man. I'm supposed to be down in Atlanta later this year. So yeah, so that would be the first time me going to Georgia.
Hey, in the great words of Young Jeezy, might as well roll with me to Magic City. But I digress, man. One interesting fact before we get dive into the subject of New Blood is I have never played a game of 2K in my entire life. I stopped playing basketball games after NBA Live 2005. But I digress. Speaking of New Blood, we got a lot of New Blood in the WNBA at this point. And we saw that match this past weekend with the first of many, Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. Now, we all know Angel Reese is almost averaging a double-double a game. She's averaging 11 points, 9 rebounds. Caitlin Clark was the rookie of the month with 17 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds herself. So she was rookie of the month. So we're going to save certain subjects for a later segment, but what is your thoughts on the game? Is this the first of many, or is this like a flash in the pan? Give me your thoughts on the BRF.
I think I seriously hope and pray the WNBA capitalizes on this fire that this rivalry is going to bring. Because I mean, going back to that natty when LSU won and Angel Reese's flag was flashing the ring sign because she knew she had it locked up. I mean, the grounds are just there for perhaps one of the rivalry that the WNBA need to really take it to that next level. I feel like I think it's the first of many like really good matchups between the two. And the thing people got to understand about them is that they're two different players. I mean, Caitlin Clark is more of the perimeter outside, flash, might not necessarily always be the most efficient shooter, but she's gonna throw it up and she's gonna get hers. And I mean, she brings a flair. She brings a flair to the women's game that we haven't. Some people will argue we've never seen. Some will argue we haven't seen in a long, long time. So I mean, she's needed for the time that the WNBA is in, and the same thing with Angel Reese. Like I said, she's more of the interior, rebounder, get after it, kind of player. I mean, they're two different players, but I mean, they both bring their own kind of individual flair to the game that it needs. And I mean, I will say this though, even though it's a rivalry that the WNBA needs. Shout out to this draft class, because even though Caitlin Clark is like if you want to call her the centerpiece, I understand, but this draft class is like, I don't want people to sleep on the rest of this draft class. I mean, you still have the one that really stands out to me is Cardoso being in Chicago with Angel Reese as well. So I'm hoping that this draft class gets a lot more love besides Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, because this draft class is deep, and I'm expecting a lot more good results from this draft class as a whole. But Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are going to be the two that kind of they're gonna pave the way. They're gonna lead the way for the rest of this. So I see more great matchups. I just hope the WNBA they capitalize on this, because they got gold with both of these players. I just hope they know how to capitalize on this and they hit this the right way.
Hey, before we move to Flash, I've said it many a times. This draft class for the WNBA, we talk about Angel Reese, we talk about Cardozo, we talk about Caitlin Clark. Let's not forget about Cameron Brink.
Yes.
Out there in Los Angeles for the Los Angeles Sparks, because she is flat out lighting it up as well. So, I mean,
shoot, you got Kate Morton down in San Antonio.
Yes, indeed, Kate Morgan. Yeah. So you can't forget. Let's not forget about those as well. I would say to this day, this draft class is equivalent to what has the potential to be what the '84 draft class was to the NBA. It has that much potential, because although you had Bird and Magic and Julius Erving and Isaiah Thomas already in the NBA, I believe the cornerstone of the NBA, that draft class in '84 with Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, John Stockton, just to name a few, that was what put the NBA into the stratosphere. And I think that this draft class for the WNBA has the potential to do the same. But let's go with Flash.
So I won. The game was great. I thought it was a great game. The drama of like I said, we'll save that probably for later. Of the cheap shots, hard fouls, the ticky. I shouldn't say ticky tack stuff, but just that gritty, old school, it was a physical game. And I also think you saw a lot of what Cardozo can do. I also think you saw a lot of what Caitlin Clark can do. And I'm not talking about just shooting. Like, her passing ability is probably the best in the league if you really want to look at it. Like, the way she sees the floor and everything is amazing. My biggest takeaway from that game, though, is during the broadcast, they said that the Indiana Fever haven't practiced once together at all. Like, they've only done film session, and they've played something like 10 games in 11 days or something like that, like something insane. And I'm not shocked that they're struggling and that Caitlin's struggling. If they haven't practiced together, because you could tell that their offense was just not there. Like, it's just, there's moments of fluidity, but it's just not there yet. But just in the aspect of the rivalry, and we can get into all the back and forth after the game and the stuff after that. I know we will, but I think it's great. Like, it was awesome. Like, it felt like I was watching sports history. It felt like that. It felt like, even the pregame, the way that they, did the segments and kind of built it all up. Like, it's there. It's really there. So I'm kind of excited for, I never thought I would say this, WNBA basketball. Let's go. Let's keep going. I want to see another Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark game.
So, what's the similarity? The reason why people always keep asking me, "Hey, Champ, why do you keep calling them Bird and Magic?" It's because the thing is, if you really think about the Boston Celtics back in the '80s, they were pretty much a ground and pound team versus the Lakers. They were Showtime. If you really think about it, they're exact. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, they're exact opposites. Angel Reese is the ground and pound person versus Caitlin Clark. She's the Showtime person, but a little bit more quiet, I would say. So that's why when people say, "Why do you compare them to Bird and Magic?" I'm like, if you really look at it, because if you really want to be honest with you, Bird for a lot of guys was the villain. Magic was the flashy guy that everybody loved. And it's easy to say that no, it wasn't, but a lot of guys did not want to see Larry Bird win. So let's just, and we'll get into that later. But in the meantime, Leaf, go ahead, man. Let's see what you got to say.
Definitely. You're absolutely 100% right. This has all the dichotomies of Magic and Bird, especially for the WNBA to soar to heights never seen before. just in the first 5 games in terms of merchandise and sales overall, they are up 2,000% over the last 20 years, over the last 25 years since they've been in the league. And Caitlin Clark, in the Indiana Fever has basically outsold the Indiana Pacers in tickets, and they were in the playoffs. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, I mean, listen, there's a definitely demand that she has. Her dynamic shooting alone, I guess if you want to call it Steph Curry-esque, has definitely put a motion onto this league to where it's like, all right, maybe the girls can't be as athletic as a Ja Morant or as a LeBron James, nowhere near, but they can definitely do something that what Steph is doing, bro. And I think Caitlin Clark has proven that at Iowa, and she's taking that into the league as well. I do think she needs to get better at playing more of an organized game and more sets. Obviously, Flash mentioned that they didn't practice and they played like 10 games in 12 days or something like that. This girl has gone from national being in the national championship game, and then the same week being in the WNBA draft, which is star-studded, by the way. You talked about Cameron Brink, who is probably the prettiest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. But like at least in the WNBA, bro. Like I ain't gonna lie to you, that white girl, man. Listen,
it's all good. Like Champ got his girl, I got my girl, so that's all good. We all got.
I'm not gonna lie. Listen, this draft, man. Listen, it's a combination of athletics and beauty. That I think the WNBA, man. I think it's only gonna get better and better every single year. Cameron, because if you can't, but by some hook or crook, if you can't promote Caitlin Clark, then you got to fall back with Cameron Brink, man. I'm like, this girl was made, this young lady was made out of the Cameron Diaz lab to me. I mean, me personally, I can't even, man. Oh my goodness, she is, and she's leading the league in blocks already as a rookie.
Yeah.
So, Rakia Jackson, listen, it's a take your pick, man. Like which one do you like? This. I'm going crazy right now, but
let's keep it clean.
Yeah, definitely. I'm keeping it clean.
Like the streets.
Don't get me started on like Alexa.
No, I'm keeping it clean. Champ. I promise. But between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, this is definitely the first of many. I think the WNBA, it's almost impossible for them to screw this up. And the way that they market, and listen, they can't be lazy, and they cannot do this the wrong way in terms of letting the media control their game. I think they have to stand on their ground. The league is physical. These girls are physical. They pushing, they shoving, they fouling, and it is what it is. It's kind of give you that old school type of feel. And the WNBA has always been that way. Diana Taurasi did not tell a lie that night when she said these rookies that's coming in the league, they're going to have to give themselves a little bit of grace, because the thing is, you're playing in the Final Four, and then 2 weeks later you got to go to training camp, and then another 2 weeks later you're in the WNBA.
Yeah.
So that's basically a month from going from playing from college competition to WNBA professional competition. That's almost a month removed from that. So Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Carmela Cardoso, Cameron Brink, Rakia Jackson, all of these girls, these young women, man, they have a chance to do something very, very historic in this league, and raise this league to heights never seen before. Kelsey Plum was talking about the gross income for women athletes in the league, and this, that, and the third. I think that is going to change very, very quickly. But as far as Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark goes, I strongly believe that this is the best is yet to come for those two, and definitely.
I will say I think they need to, because it was weird. It was like we were watching the Final Four, and then I sneezed and it was like, ugh, and then all of a sudden she was playing in a WNBA game. They gotta like separate that a little bit. Like they have to like plan their season out and draft out a lot better. Because there's no reason why you should have your star, like a not even just Caitlin Clark, but this whole draft class basically like
running on fumes.
Yeah, they're running on fumes, and no wonder they're all struggling. Not to mention they're getting the crap kicked out of them. So it's like Caitlin Clark literally just took off her jersey at Iowa and just threw an Indiana Fever one on and just ran out of the court. At least that's what it felt like. So it's I'm not shocked that, and the fact that they haven't had a practice together, that was mind-boggling to me. And honestly, if that's a norm, then no wonder the product. What?
How you supposed to win championships?
Well, that's part of it. But then I also wonder, how much better can the product be if they actually get proper season planning and training camp planning and practice planning? If this
I think the thing about that, Flash, I think that's probably going to come more down the line. Right now,
I would hope so.
Yeah. Right now, they got to be in the beginning stages because they also just announced that a Toronto team is coming in another 2 years, another year and a half, I think.
Yeah.
So they're definitely looking forward to changing the league in terms of a lot of how they present these young ladies. And the women that are there right now that are seeing Caitlin Clark, they're looking at her like, man, we not letting this go about. And that's why you're seeing a lot of the physical play on her that you're seeing, because they're not trying that with Camila Cardoso, who is all a 6'6", 6'7", Brazilian woman, and they not. I mean, we seen Angel Reese get choke slammed in midair by Alyssa Thomas. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it is what it is, man. It's I think Diana Taurasi told the truth. She said you're gonna have to give yourself some grace. You're playing against grown women, man. That's trying to feed their families on 5-figure incomes. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. Brandon, what's going on? But I mean, I think that the best Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark is yet to come. But I don't want the entire focus to be on just them two. I think Cameron Brink is going to be great. I think Rakia is going to be great. And I think Camilla is going to be great also, as long as and a lot of other names in this class is going to be pretty good as well. So,
hey, before we move on and we go to the next topic, let's not forget about Asia Wilson. Don't forget about Asia Wilson.
We can't forget about.
Asia Wilson is
she the best player in the league. You can't.
She's obvious. I mean, between her and Breonna Stewart, I mean, obviously I got Asia Wilson, but Breonna Stewart,
she's right there. She's there.
Breonna Stewart is definitely there. They gave her MVP last year. I think Asia Wilson was kind of ticked off about it because she in the finals, man, she did not let up. I mean, that girl, she was out there to play. She mean business, man. I think she might be the Anthony Davis of the league right now. Listen, the combination of her skill and shooting and her move set and able to get to the basket, able to block shots. She's tall. I seen her at Barclays, man. I couldn't believe how tall these girls is. I'm like, man, listen, I'm about 5'10". I'm looking at these. I'm like, all right, man, let me chill out, man. But the thing is, Asia Wilson, Asia Wilson is definitely she's definitely the best player in the league, man, and I think it's gonna remain that for some time. But she definitely got some competition in that field, so it's gonna be interesting how the Aces hold up. They got a chance to three-peat. We'll see how the season goes.
Yes, indeed, man. Moving on to the next topic, man. Hey, look, do we need to go back into the 80s and bring Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn out of retirement?
Nah, we don't need to do that.
Give them offspring and put them on the Indiana Fever, because, man, when I tell you, just like they're playing football out there with little Caitlin Clark, man, because they are taking a lot of pop shots at her during the course of the game, man. It's just like she's been hip checked. And let's not forget that real hard screen the first game she played.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was against the New York Liberty.
I think Connecticut Sun.
The Connecticut Sun. They knocked. I mean, she came down the court, wasn't paying attention. And the reason I brought up Rick Mahorn, because as you know, Leaf, Rick Mahorn was the master at doing that no-look screen.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he was.
Out of people. So, I mean,
hey,
man.
He used to put guys out of the game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, Rick Mahorn was blue collar, no joke, man. He kept you speeding. That was that.
Exactly. And, man, look, we've heard from the NBA all week, the former NBA players. We've heard from Matt Barnes. We've heard from Charles Barkley himself, who played with Rick Mahorn, by the way. We've heard from a lot of guys, including one of the biggest enforcers of all, Draymond Green, that the Indiana Fever need to do something about, you know, their star player taking pot shots every single game. But let me get some thoughts from each and every last one of y'all. What do y'all think about some of these shots that she's taking at this point in time? We'll start with you, Lee.
I think the shots is if it's unnecessary, bro, like then it's definitely it definitely goes back to what Diana Taurasi has said. It's basically yo, you better understand what's coming. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think the WNBA and the girls that were already in the WNBA that earned the right to be in the WA that's guarding her is not going to let up, man. It's definitely some envy there. They definitely see, yo, she got 8 years, $28 million from Nike, this, that, and the third. And this is the girl that's supposed to be raising our league. And then you got the media saying, bro, like, you can't beat up on the money. You can't beat up on the money maker and all of this crap. And I mean, these girls ain't trying to hear that. They competitive. I mean, some of them is definitely cheap shots. I mean, for sure. Some of them is in the parameters of the game. And, you know, Caitlin Clark, it seemed like her head is on a swivel, especially when she first went out there. She had 10 turnovers and got laid out with a couple of screens, laid out with a couple of shoulder leans, young Dro style, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was what it was, you know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, I'm not opposed to it at all. I mean, I think she's definitely gonna have to toughen up for sure. In the Indiana Fever, Aaliyah Boston is definitely gonna have to you know, be her guard and shield at some point. Because that Indiana Fever team, they got mainly a finesse team. They don't really have a team that's really built for the physical play. They was the worst team last year, and they look like they're about to be the worst team this year. So they definitely need to do something. They need to send them girls to Draymond camp or something. But like I don't know what they need to do. But listen, I don't know if I'm too if I'm the Indiana Fever coach. I don't know if I'm too pleased, even though she's been fouled the third most as a rookie. She's third most in the league in drawing fouls. I don't know if I'm too opposed to that, because I guarantee you, if this was happening to Steph Curry, the NBA or somebody gonna do something about it. Draymond, if it ain't Draymond, it's the NBA. If it ain't the NBA, it's Draymond. So I mean, something gonna have to give, man, because I know this ain't gonna be held up for long. Because a lot of the people that's buying tickets, they didn't come to the Indiana game to see Caitlin Clark get laid out with a screen or laid out with a cheap shot. They came to see her shoot threes, and that's gonna be sort of a double-edged sword going into the future. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be interesting to see, man, how fast the WNBA goes into the finesse stage. I hope they don't, but man, we gonna have to see, man.
BRF.
I do think some of it is a little unnecessary, but we know Caitlin Clark. She's a bit of. I'm not saying she's bringing it upon herself, but I mean she do. When she get going, she do get the feeling herself, and she talk a little bit. So, you know, these veteran players, you know, you get a rookie, you know, kind of running the mouth at them. You know, they ain't gonna necessarily stand for that too much. So, you know, some of it's unnecessary, but Caitlin Clark, you know, she to an extent, she is still a rookie. She's a really good player, but she is still a rookie. She got to know how to pick her shots a little better. You know, sometimes you got to know when to hold, know when to fold. You know, you dealing with grown women. You know, trying to do a little something for their family. They trying to get theirs too. But like I said, I do feel like some of it's unnecessary. I do feel like some of it is a little unnecessary, because at the end of the day, she's a player too, and she's trying to get hers as well. I mean, I get it. You know, they're the one they're trying to. She's kind of like the cash cow right now, and they're trying to, the future of the league. They're trying to tie it, into her. She's going to be like one of the faces to carry this thing, the next 5, 10 or so years. So I mean, I don't know, just a lot of the. I'll say that this is what I'll say. The WNBA, I feel like since its inception, has always been like a physical league. It really has. If you go back to like the days of like when the Houston Comets were winning like winning like the first 4 championships, or like the New York Liberty with Teaspoon. I mean, going back to like the inception of it, and then just this is, if you're complaining about the WNBA being physical, and then in the same breath talk about how soft the NBA is. I mean, let's pick a struggle here. Let's pick a struggle. Let's pick a line. You talking out of both sides of your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Let's kill that noise. You can't complain about the WNBA being physical and then say, "Oh, the NBA is too soft." Shut up. Pick a struggle. Ain't nobody got time to hear that. So the WNBA has always been a physical league, and that's one of the things that's always kind of drawn me to the league. That's one of the things I respect about the league. You have your skillful players. You have your girls that can go out there and get a bucket and can go out and just can go out and play make with the best of them. But those girls hustle. They dive on the floor. They play defense. They offensive, defensive rebounds. I mean, they go after it. I respect those women and what they do in the WNBA. So Caitlin Clark, to an extent, had to expect this. And then, like I said, she's got to watch her mouth a little bit. She do trash talk a little bit. She do kind of bring it on herself a little bit. But some of it is a little unnecessary. So some of it is unnecessary. So with that being said, I really just, I don't know. I think hopefully, I don't know if it's necessarily gonna die down like anytime soon. I hope it does, and we can just get the basketball. But yeah, man, the Indiana Fever, man, they need to kind of they need to find a little more intensity. They need to find some ferociousness when it comes to Caitlin Clark, because if they don't, that woman's gonna be beat up by season's end because nobody's defending her. I mean, somebody needs to really do something for her. Somebody throw a cheap shot at her. Somebody need to get them back. They kind of need to. They're not helping matters by not taking the pressure off of her. But sometimes you got to throw one back at them. You got to let them know, hey, regardless of what you may feel about her on the outside, this is our teammate. You ain't finna be doing this to her game after game after game. Somebody's gonna have to step up. I do feel like if it's gonna be anybody, it's gonna be Aaliyah Boston. I definitely agree with that. But somebody's got to do it. Somebody really has to do it. Or because it's like Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon was talking about it, and it was a really, really great segment on Pardon the Interruption. Like I saw it on my IG, and and this was like, to anybody in the chat, find this clip. PTI talking about Caitlin Clark. It was really, really good. And I've always loved Kornheiser and Wilbon because they're basically like two sports. They're like two sports savants. I mean, there was no like. One no hot takes, one no, oh my God, he said this. They analyze it the way two sports journalists, veterans as those two analyzed it, and they really made a lot of great points. And I highly recommend that clip. Find it on YouTube or anywhere. Just find it and just listen to those guys just kind of speak and put their truth on it. And they illustrated it the way they really need to they put it in a way that you can understand and you can get behind. So the Indiana Fever really need to start stepping up. If they need to start putting some people on their butts too to get them off of Caitlin Clark. Otherwise, it's going to be an even longer season for her. And that's all I'm going to add my piece on that.
Before I let you go, Flash, I'm going to just be real with you. All of us as athletes, especially us offensive line, two things you didn't mess with. You didn't mess with my quarterback, and you didn't mess with my point guard. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a shot to the ribs. That's going to cost you. You go after my point guard, that's a shot to the ribs.
Bro, your name is Undisputed Champ. I ain't messing with him, period, bro. Like, I'm not even trying that game.
No, we used to call it war taxes.
Oh yeah, I know something about that.
Yeah, your point guard come down the floor. He kind of, limping a little bit. Hey man, he stuck his foot up under me as I was going up. All right, we'll get him down low on the war taxes. Feed him a little ripper every now and then. Feed him a soup bone. But
I know something about that because my screen setter in high school, he was an offensive lineman, bro. He used to tell me, he'd be like, yo, listen, I need you to run full speed over towards the left, bro. I'm gonna get you open. He ain't gonna get around it. Don't worry about it. This kid was about 280 something pounds and about 6'5". He was 15, 16 years old. I couldn't believe. I'm like,
He was my Larry Allen, man. Rest in peace to Larry Allen, who bench pressed 692 pounds. I think that's a record, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, ain't nobody touching that.
Ain't nobody touching that. But he was a nice guy, but oh man, stay away from him.
But yeah, gotta say this too, man. Hey, we are talking about this, but remember what happened when Larry and Magic played each other. They was knocking the crap out of each other as well. You know, if you don't remember the Kurt Rambis when Kevin McHale, literally knocked him out of the air. And let's not forget when Michael Jordan became the cash cow of the league, the Bad Boy Pistols were beating the hell out of him every chance they got. The Jordan rules was something else. And shout out to my main man, PSP, the New Jersey Genius, man. Tune in to his pod, the PSP podcast, every single Friday at 9, the highlight of Friday night. Shout out to PSP, man. But I digress right now at this moment. Flash, you have the floor. I know you've been waiting on this, and I've been waiting on you to speak on this.
So I want to put one thing out there. I love physical play. Okay. I wish the NBA was a little bit more physical back from when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s and watching it. I am okay with the hard screens and the no-look screens. I'm fine with that. It sets a tone. It's like the Kobe Bryant story when they went to the U.S. Olympics, and LeBron's talking about that story about he's like, first thing they're going to do, I'm literally going to put one in Paul Gasol's chest. And that was his teammate. That was like his brother. And dude ran across the court and literally ran him over in the Olympics. So, like, I'm cool. And it was a screen. It wasn't like a cheap shot. And Powell saw it coming. So I'm cool with, like, hard fouls. Like, and kind of like, hey, like, the welcome to the league moment. I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that. But some of this stuff is like, she's going to get hurt. She's going to get hurt. Like, especially if you're no look at like hip checking her or doing stuff like that, like she's going to get hurt. And then the cash cow is going to go away. And then people are going to get pissed. And I think that that's a problem. I think I think the way that the players on Chicago handled the whole thing, the Kennedy, the girl that hit
Carter Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy Carter.
Yeah,
Kennedy Carter.
Where she goes into that press conference and she just goes, "I'm not answering any questions about Caitlin Clark. We don't want to talk about her. Oh my God!" And then goes on Twitter and just like does nothing but talk about Caitlin Clark. Like there is this jealousy of and that's got to be that's the toxic part of this, where it looks premeditated, where it looks like it looks like it's like, don't get me wrong, Caitlin Clark, yes, she is running her mouth at times, but and I'm cool if like she runs her mouth and she goes to the hole and she gets a hard foul. I'm okay with that. But I think attacking her from behind, I think now we're getting to that like petty, like
Bush League.
What did you say, Champ?
Bush League.
Yeah, we've watched Draymond do stuff like, kick guys in the crotch and stuff like that, and we've all called out how Bush League it is and how like awful it is, but we still want physical play. And I just think it just looks, and then you had Angel Reese come out and be like, "I just want everybody to know that this is about me too." Like, it just looks like you're teenage girls like fighting over like, the crown or something like it. Like Caitlin got the crown and now they're fighting over it. And it's just like, it just looks petty and it looks gross and it looks childish and it looks premeditated. And that's the toxic crap part that I think a lot of people are upset with, especially if it's premeditated. That's a problem. And that's got to go away. But by all means, like I remember in high school watching the Powder Puff games. If you think the men thing, but like the men football was physical, go watch a Powder Puff game once. Those women are evil to each other.
Oh, I love watching those. Oh my God.
Like, I'm telling you, if you gave women like the physical ability of men, they would just like kill each other. Like it would, like they're just straight up evil. So I'm not surprised by the physicality of the NBA. In fact, I like it. I just there should be. I don't want them to let Caitlin Clark just shoot threes. I don't want that as much as like we need to see that. You know, just because it's something that like she does play like Steph Curry. She has that footwork and that quick release shot. But I think there has to be some like a little bit of level of, hey, we have charter jets now and we're on national television now and we've been complaining that nobody watches us. And now people do. And I think needs to be a little bit of like, you know, something. There needs to be, I don't know about, maybe I'm looking at this in a completely wrong way, but it's kind of like we've heard for years that nobody tunes in, and everybody that didn't tune in was like, well, give us a reason to. And now everybody's got a reason to. And I don't know. But me and Champ talked about this briefly as well. All this drama talk is also good for the WNBA.
Exactly. But I do have to ask you this question, Flash, and you know where I'm about to go.
I
know where I'm about to go.
Okay.
What are you going to say? Now, we all seen a lot of Bush League stuff against Caitlin Clark. You know this already. But what would you say if somebody brought up what they did to the other superstar in Angel Reese when she damn near got Bill Lambier and got clothesline? Now, when she got up, the only thing she did was she clapped it off. She got off the court, went to the press conference, and told the person that fouled her, I think it was Thomas, and told her, thank you for making me better, and then got on the internet and said, thank you. What would you say to people that says, hey, when she got fouled and got necktied and damn near got Big Show chokeslam in the middle of the court? And that's not the first time it happened. That was just the first one that was televised.
Hey, man said Big Show chokeslam.
Yeah, that was just the first one that was televised. She always say it's just part of the game. She never complains to the ref or anything like that. What would you say when everybody would say, hey, look how Angel handles it in comparison to Caitlin Clark? What would you say to someone?
Well, I think Caitlin Clark handled it pretty much the same way. She went in the press conference afterwards. She said, this is just part of the game. And it's something that I have to accept. And I did. And she said, I fully expected it as well. So I think they both handled it. I think very admirably. I think the only thing that maybe, and I think it's a little different because I think the Angel Reese play was in the middle of a basketball play. So it looks awful. Whereas the Caitlin Clark one, the hip check one wasn't a basketball play. But I think they've both handled that part well. I think both Caitlin and her. I think the only time that like it looked a little like Bush Leaguey by Angel Reese is when she was clapping along Kennedy Carter for knocking Caitlin over. But like I think, you know, I think they've both handled it great. I think the whole class has handled it great. My only problem was with Angel Reese is when she's like, I want this to be about me. Like, just play. Like, just go and play. Show it on the court. Like, when you guys go head to head, just like go play. Don't be like, well, this isn't just about her. This is about me too. That just looks like, can you imagine Kobe Bryant like in an interview saying like, I can't believe this LeBron kid. Like, it's all about him, and I just want it to be about me too. Like,
I mean, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you because this is what I do. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So I'm gonna just be real. Is she lying when she says that? Because the thing is, when she got on that floor, the first thing that happened, the main thing that we remember about Caitlin Clark, this was my introduction to Caitlin Clark, was when they played off against each other. Everybody was talking about the LSU team and the Bayou Barbie, Angel Reese. And the thing was this right here. That was my introduction. And that's when they started saying this could potentially be a Bird and Magic moment. So when she says that, people always give her flack for that, but in my humble opinion, she's not lying. I mean, when she says it's about more than one player, she's not lying. I mean, the thing is, when we talk about this draft class, yes, everybody loves Caitlin Clark, not taking anything away from her. She can flat out ball. But when we talked about this draft class, one of the main persons that we was talking about was Angel Reese. And if you really want to be honest with you, the two players that sold out their jerseys during that time, right as the draft was ending, was Caitlin Clark and who else?
And
Angel Reese. So when she say it's about me as well, is she really lying?
No. It's not that I think that she's lying. I think that it's all about the statement to me. When you say it, it's not just her, it's me too. It's not about you lying. We all know that. Like the thing is, what's understood don't need to be said. You know what I'm saying? So at the same time, it's like, you got to ask yourselves, bro, why you wasn't the first, why you was projected to go down in the draft, and why she was projected to go first. And you beat her in the national title game, and so did Camila Cardoso. And neither one of y'all was projected to go first. You need to ask yourself that before you make that type of statement, because it comes off as little girlish, and it comes off as really jealous. It's just the statement alone. It's not about if she's lying or not. It's the fact that we all know why the revenue is in the overall sales and everything is up 2,000%. It's like Caitlin Clark is going to be, when we look back 20 years from now, Caitlin Clark is going to be the key catalyst. The key catalyst, not you. You are part of it, but you're not the key catalyst. That's just the truth.
It is. It's just and that's the thing. It's like, and it's kind of, I said it in my TikTok video too, where I said, like, look, you go to my channel, Champ's channel, most of our channels, and even in general, we've all called this a Bird Magic moment. Like we haven't said this is just a Bird moment or a Magic moment. We've said this is a Bird Magic moment, that this rivalry could take this league to another level. But if you go back to the one video that I sent to you, Champ, where Pat McAfee kind of broke down the numbers, it's Caitlin Clark and then everybody else. And yes, Angel Reese is right there. It does come across.
Gap. I get what you're saying. It's a huge gap.
And we know it's about Angel Reese. Part of the reason I didn't tune into any Caitlin Clark games on her own. I tuned into the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark game.
Yeah.
So we all acknowledge that already. But it just comes, it's like when LeBron came out and said, yeah, I'm the greatest ever. I think I've done enough. Like, you just don't say it. It just comes across, you come across immature, and like you don't just, it's like Barry Sanders, like, it's just act like you've been there before. Like every time he scored a touchdown, he just hand the ball to the ref. He goes, I've done it before.
In her defense, I will say this. Look, if it wasn't for her brashness, would we really be paying attention to her? I don't think so. If it wasn't for her attitude and that feistiness and that confidence and that exuberance that she has, if it wasn't for that, would we be paying attention to her?
No, it adds to
not. Because although she said that, we're sitting up here talking about her right now as we speak. My thing is, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be talking about her. And that's in her defense. I have to say that. The world doesn't like two silent players. Caitlin Clark's a little bit more. She talks on the court, but in the media, she's a little bit more silent.
She handles herself like she handles herself like Brady did. Brady was one of the biggest shit talkers on the earth, and then he come out and get in front of the podium, and he was the pure politician. So, which is how Caitlin kind of handled herself. No, and I agree with the Angel thing. We can sit here and criticize her for her brashness or how she's coming across, but again, it adds to the drama.
Yeah.
And here's the part that I didn't bring up yet, and I did say in my TikTok video, what I do love about it is she said, if I have to be the villain, I'm more than happy to be the villain, and she should have stopped right there. All she had to do was say, hey, look, if I got to be the villain to make this league better, I will be more than happy to take that role on. And then she just should have stopped right there, and I would have been like, that was dope, because you do need a good villain, and if she's the villain, I am happy for that, because you need a villain. You have to have a villain. You just, whether it, and I brought it up in my TikTok video, whether it's LeBron's Miami Heat or the New York Yankees or Tom Brady's Patriots, or now it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. You need that good villain, that good foil,
that evil empire.
That evil empire, or
everybody
just
needs Darth Vader to Luke Skywalker, baby.
Yeah, or that thorn in your side type thing. So I'm here for it. I'm all about the drama. There's an old saying that sports is better than any type of drama that Shakespeare could come up with, and it's true, in my opinion, at least. And look, go ahead, Angel Reese, you get up in front and keep this rivalry going, and Caitlin, you talk your shit on the court and then act like the politician, and I'm all for it. That's great. And then we're going to watch this rivalry for the next 10 years, and they'll all rake in dough.
Exactly. Make sure I get my Angel Reese jersey in about another couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying?
I have my Caitlin Clark. I'm getting a Caitlin.
You know what? We're going to do that too. I'm going to get my Angel Reese jersey next
I'm
time.
gonna have to distance myself from everybody and get that Cameron Brink jersey for sure.
There you go. Dude, we should all buy like a WNBA shirt or jersey and then wear it for a broadcast.
I'm with it, man. Listen, listen.
That'll be go to Slam Magazine. Slam Magazine, if you watch and send us some merchandise. You know what I'm saying? And we can do some things, because they have the Angel Reese shirts, they have the Cameron Brink shirts, they have the Caitlin Clark shirts. Hey man, that'll be a good thing, man. Like I said, before the WNBA season's over, we all need to do that for the show. We have to pay homage to these ladies, brother.
Definitely,
and the crazy thing about the whole situation is, with the way college basketball, with the way the women's game is coming up in college basketball, this is just the first wave. I mean, you still got Paige Beckers in college. You still have Juju Watkins in college.
Yeah.
This is just the first wave. So this is why I'm really enjoying this class coming up. This could be the beginning of something real serious in the WNBA, with the players that are still on the come up that's about to hit the league. This is just the start. And if we're talking about these players now, just wait as this evolution continues to keep going with these really, really good players coming up. I'm excited. I don't want WNBA to mess us up, because I am so excited with the wave of players that's about to come in.
They do really need to fix their schedule. They need to let these girls practice and have actual professional training camp and practice. They have, because that's what I was kind of going at for. The product could be, that's been part of the issue why a lot of people haven't tuned, is because the product hasn't been that great.
I agree. Yeah. I agree with you, Flash. And the product intercedes at a time where the NBA is gonna probably have the most eyes on it, the playoffs and the finals. Listen, and the thing is, basketball has become so key, especially with the national media, that by the time that the NBA draft comes around, and by the time that Summer League comes around, especially if the prospects that's coming in next year start to live up to promise, then you're gonna have WNBA games intersect with Summer League games. And the thing is we all we've been NBA fans for a long time. We all gonna want to see who's the next best thing coming out of the draft or out of the combine and the Summer League and all of that stuff. So the thing is, I think that's definitely going to be a challenge for the WNBA to definitely work on that scheduling. Definitely try to get a lot of these women proper training and everything. And I think the WNBA is still in early stages. Even though it's been out for 25 years, but I think it's still in the early stages of really noticing that they got a meal ticket, and they could really hit a gold mine here. You know what I'm saying?
if they kind of like put a little bit of space, we're in the dog days of summer right now after the finals.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
we are.
If you make this more of like a training camp or preseason, and then right when the finals is about to end, kind of roll into the beginning of the regular season, they could literally own everything up until
August
preseason football.
Up until August.
At least
up
until
until
the
August,
NFL,
because you ain't owning. I hate to say this live, but I'm gonna just be real. Ain't no sport owning shit during August in the
no, it's not.
No, absolutely not.
And I hate to curse on this platform. Y'all know I don't like to curse, but ain't no sport holding shit after August. You might well just hang it up.
But they could own.
No argument for me.
They could own like late July to like late August.
To like late August, yeah.
They could own that section. Yep. Like I'm telling you, I would just a little bit of gap between the end of the tournament and then whatever, or if you want players like just have the draft right afterwards, have like a 3-week gap, like a month gap maybe, and then just or have it like to have that be training camp, and then they could, and what they could do is during the NBA finals, the NBA could advertise that the start of the start of the WNBA is going to start to happen. You could advertise all the new players coming up. So you have a gazillion eyeballs on it already, and then people get amped up and hyped up for that. Because you can advertise. It's
you know what, Flash, bro? I think you got the right idea, but in terms of the plan to put this together, we got to remember, Champ, what season is it right now?
Baseball
outside. No. What season is it outdoors right now?
Well, it's the summer.
It's summertime. Yes, it is.
Hot girl, hot boy summer, hot girl summer.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't get
started
on those sundresses again, because then we're gonna go off.
I was gonna say that, but since you brought it up, but in all seriousness,
but I think
ain't nothing wrong with getting some barbecue and sitting down watching the WNBA game. I mean, it's only so much that you can do during the summer. I'm just gonna be real. It's hot as hell, and sometimes you do want to sit down and have you a good brew and watch some good women's basketball. I mean, and if you really want to be honest with you, baseball, I love baseball, love my Braves, but they're not drawing no ratings like that right about now. They're not. Absolutely. You're not going to be drawing no ratings to like late October, early September. You're not. Absolutely. So this is the perfect time to capitalize. So
I think it is the perfect time to capitalize, but I think, as you said a couple of minutes ago, once it hit August and you ain't made the money that you were supposed to make, you might as well forget about it. After that. You ain't doing nothing that, because I think, listen, the NFL is the biggest money maker at a time where everybody is in the house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We talking about once we get to Thanksgiving, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We all win the kids. It don't matter where you are in this country. You are in that house.
Exactly. But speaking of basketball, man, we're going to make this a quick segment, because you know what, man? We all know who's in the finals. We all know who's in the final. The Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie and Luka versus Tatum and Brown. So we're going to make this a quick segment, man. And we're going to start off with Leaf. Who wins and how many games is it going to take? We're going to do this quick now.
I got Dallas in 5.
Damn. Damn. Well, I'm definitely clipping that.
Good Lord.
I'm definitely clipping that. You know what? We've already been through this on another show. Let's not, we already know what it is. But Flash, how many games? Who taking it all?
All right. If KP is healthy and plays the whole series and is healthy, I think it's Boston in 6. I think if he's not healthy, I think it's Dallas in 7.
Oh, okay.
I think he matters to this series that much. Not only to his rim protection, but the thing that we've talked about with Like I heard on, I don't know who shows up. Who was the guy that called Brown and Tatum to Scottie Pippins?
That's the guy right there. Right
Please?
next to you.
Dude, that was awesome. I died. I was at my desk and I was like, I just started dying laughing. I was like, oh no.
And people misinterpret what I miss about two Scottie Pippins. I mean, there are two betas, they are two bottoms. That's it's plain and simple. When they get in front of better competition, we gonna see Dallas in 5. I ain't saying it no more.
The thing where I disagree is I think KP. That's what that's why KP matters so much. Is when those two stall out, people forget how good KP is, and he can get them buckets when those two, freeze in the cold water essentially, and not to mention the rim protection that he provides. It just that's the to me that's the big X factor is KP, and so I love that those Scottie Pippins. That was hilarious. That was great.
Hey man, that was a good one, man. That was a real good one. But when it comes to Jason Tatum, man, you got something to prove this year. You better prove it. Otherwise,
he's got to show.
He got to show up.
He's not a Scottie, for lack of a better term. This is it. We kind of talked about it last week. This is it. This is it. If he doesn't do it this time, then
it's real simple, Flash. All he need to do is show up and get his rear end kicked. That's it. That's all he need to do. Dallas in 5.
Wow. I love Luka, don't get me wrong, and I love Kyrie.
5? Damn.
But 5?
5?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Fatal 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yes.
Wow.
Frank, what you got, man?
All right. So I've already underestimated the Mavericks to get to the final, so I definitely got to get them props for getting there because they really, when it came down to the Western Conference side of the playoffs, every team they went up against, they made them play their game, and they just couldn't do it. Boston, I don't know. This is what I'll say. I'm picking Boston. And I know we're talking about if KP plays, Boston's winning this in 5 games. I think Boston's winning this in 5 games if KP plays. Just because I feel from the standpoint of it's one thing to go up against a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, who's like a really great 3-point shooter, but not necessarily the greatest as far as like the interior post, his interior game, and it's not the best interior post defender. KP's like that. Interior, outside, like his interior game, his outside game, being able to rim protect and all that. When KP's on his game, he's like that. And there is nobody in Dallas. There's not a soul on the Dallas Mavericks roster that can do anything with him from a defensive perspective as far as trying to play him. Dallas has nobody. So if KP plays, they win in 5. But even still, I think Boston is still I still think they're the deeper team, particularly out on the perimeter with the guards. You got guys like Drew Holiday, you got guys like Derek White, and even still, and then you got guys like Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench, giving you good minutes off the bench. And I just feel like if Jason Tatum's going to do it, here you go. I mean, it's laid out for you right there. You're the favorites in this. You're the favorites in this series. I mean, you pretty much got everything lined up for you to do it. You have to be the reason Boston win this series. I feel like this shouldn't be one of those. The bench kind of helps get you there. You have to get them there. This is on you now. Even with Jaylen Brown on the squad, who earned every bit of that Eastern Conference Finals MVP the way he balled out in that series. But even still, Jason Tatum has to take him there. This has to be his series. He has to be the reason they win this series. Even if they win the series, if he doesn't play well, I'm going to just look at you like, oh, okay. Never. Okay, so You're supposed to be this top. You're supposed to be this top 6, 7, 8 player. Even when you win the finals, you still don't. You still don't really, do your best. So I am going just overall. I'm going Boston in 6 because I still feel like top to bottom they are the deeper team. I just feel like they have more and can do more with what they have on the floor. Now, I will say this about the Dallas Mavericks. If you're Boston, if Luka and Kyrie does not scare you in pressure moments, you playing yourself. Luka and Kyrie, I feel like can do some evil things to Boston if they let up any in this series. They can do some evil things to the Boston Celtics because those boys, and especially with Kyrie, this is a revenge series for Kyrie going up against Boston. You don't think he ain't gonna be ready for this? Luka's first finals. You don't think he ain't gonna be ready for this? Them boys finna come on. They finna come out ready to ball. They really are. But it's can the rest of the team, can the supporting cast do this against the Boston Celtics? This is where I pick Boston to win because I feel like Boston supporting cast trumps Dallas's. This is where I think Boston. This is where I think Boston wins it. Their supporting cast is better, in my opinion, than Dallas's. But Jason Tatum has to be the reason they win this series. Point blank. Period.
I'll say this. I think Boston's the easy pick, but even when I pick Boston, even if KP plays and he's healthy, it doesn't make me feel good to pick Boston.
I cringe picking Boston because of what Dallas is capable of.
I'm gonna tell you why it don't make you feel good. Because first off, he's playing with a calf injury, and the Dallas Mavericks bigs, bro, they don't mess around. They get up and down the court. They're very active. They active defensively. They active around the rim. They active on the boards. And the thing is, two things I don't play with in basketball: heart and calf. Because a heart, bro, anything can happen, and we all know the story about the late great Hank Gathers. In the terms of a calf, that can lead to Achilles, and you can lose the player for a whole nother year, a la Kevin Durant, who sat out the next year after the Warriors lost to Toronto. So the reality is this: the Boston Celtics, bro, like everything that you said about Tatum and Brown, they have to prove that they can hang with Luka and Kyrie. They have to prove it. There ain't no hiding behind Derek White. Ain't no hiding behind Drew Holiday. Ain't no hiding behind Al Horford. Ain't no hiding behind Pritchard or Sam Hauser. None of them dudes. They have to prove that they can stand toe to toe, man to man, point for point, bucket for bucket, moment for moment with Luka and Kyrie. Because I think Luka and Kyrie is ready for every minute of this. Second, the thing is, they need to not get into a close game with the Dallas Mavericks. No. Because if you get into a close game with the Dallas Mavericks, you basically asking for a Luka moment. You basically asking for a Kyrie moment. So they don't need to do that neither. Third, for the Dallas side, if I'm Jason Kidd, I'm turning Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown into playmakers. I'm turning them into passers. Show me that y'all can make sound decisions and level and top tier level decisions as playmakers out of double teams when the defense starts shifting and when they start moving around and bending the passing lanes. Show me that y'all can beat us inside the 3-point line, because I don't think they could. I don't think they could out in terms if they can't get anything out on the 3. And Dallas starts to cut that off. Now you turn it into a twos game, and now you got Luka, Kyrie, and you got lob threats. That's basically what you got.
Hey, as far as who winning the game, look, the odds are stacked for Boston, and this will probably be the first biased take that I ever have in my entire life. I never cheer for Boston.
Ever.
I would never cheer for Boston. I'm a diehard Lakers fan. I would never cheer for Boston.
Ever. Say it again, champ.
So Dallas in 5.
Dallas in 5, champ.
Dallas in 5.
Dallas in 5, champ.
Now I know Boston gonna win this series. We got biased opinions on this set. I know Boston winning this series now.
He said, "Now I know Boston gonna win."
Now I know Boston gonna win this series.
Look, we've been talking about basketball this, basketball that. Jordan, Magic, Angel Reese, and Caitlin. Boston. We talk about Luka. But let's get into that pigskin because we only got 90 days before it come back. 90 good days before.
That's it? 90 days? That's it?
90 good days. And quite frankly, I can't wait. Which brings me to my next. Yeah, 90 days, man. I keep track of it on the calendar, right above my television screen. From the time the season ends to the time it get ready to begin, I watch every game. So I mean,
some good old foosball like Bobby Boucher.
Yeah, good old foosball. So, hey man, with this year coming up, man, I ask myself this, and I'm going to go first on this. Who has the most to prove this year? And it's only one correct answer in my book, and that's Deshaun Watson. Because the thing is, you got a hefty contract. You have arguably one of the most talented teams in the league at this point. Nick Chubbs is coming back. And if you don't believe he has anything to prove, look at what Joe Flacco did with that team. Now, people can always say he went 5-1, but his stats and his play was not that incredible until that last drive against the Baltimore Ravens. Let's just be clear. I don't even think he averaged 250 yards a game during that entire run where he went 5-1. It seems like the minute that Joe Flacco took that field, that offense was a completely different team. And God forbid if Nick Chubb would have been there, that would have been a completely different story because he would have had Nick Chubb to take some of the pressure off of him in the passing game. So when you talk about who has the most to prove this year in the NFL, to me, it has to be Deshaun Watson because you got a mulligan doing your first year because of that suspension. Mulligan. Second year, your first year back full time. Okay. Third year, not only did you struggle, but you got hurt as well. You got struggled, but you got hurt as well. Now we're going into year 4. You got one more year before that contract expired if you want to get another one. So, and plus you got the most guaranteed money in NFL history. You got a fully guaranteed contract. One of the first and only quarterbacks to do that. So you have the most to prove than anybody. You have a talented team. It's not like a lot of other quarterbacks where you are coming into a team with no talent. You have a very talented team. And you have one of the best defensive players, arguably, in modern day time. If you really want, in Myles Garrett. In that defense. And if you really want me to give a comparison, I compare Myles Garrett to Ricky Jackson. And if y'all don't know who Ricky Jackson is, Ricky Jackson from the Dawn Patrol down there in New Orleans, his stats doesn't necessarily knock your socks off. But when you look at the impact that he has on the game, then you see how he affects the game. And that is why I will always compare Myles Garrett to Ricky Jackson because they are so similar. All that power. He can beat you with power. He can beat you with speed. He's a disruptor out of the you-know-what, and he can pretty much take over a game and seal the edge. And he's the most double-team player in the NFL right about now. So you have a good defense. You have pieces on that offense. They had a good draft. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Jared Jeudy is going to do for you opposite Amari Cooper on that offensive side of the ball. Because guess what? I don't blame Jared Jeudy for some of his failures. Granted, I think he handled that Steve Smith situation a little bit immaturely, but I have not yet seen him play with a world beater quarterback. There's not – people can say this all day. There's not a lot of Larry Fitzgeralds around. There's not a lot of Randy Mosses around. There's not a lot of T.O.s around. There's not a lot of those guys around. Well, I'd even put Chris Carter and D-Hop in that conversation. Those 5 guys are the 5 guys that I've seen that can play with me at the quarterback position right now and still get 1,000 yards. And that's just the gospel. I dick and dunk the whole game and they can get 1,000 yards a season because the thing is they're just that otherworldly. But a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of wide receivers cannot succeed with mediocre quarterbacks. So it's going to be interesting to see what Jared Jeudy does with now that he's not the number 1 target. He's opposite of Amari Cooper. And it looks like if Nick Chubb comes back in time, which he did it before he did it before he'll do it again. We saw it at Georgia. If they're going to make the focal point the running game now. So you have all this talent. You have a good defense. Your team is getting healthy. I mean, some of the guys, you don't have a real quarterback other than opposite Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. You're really not competing with anybody other than those 2 guys. Pittsburgh don't really have a quarterback like that. So if you don't at least make the playoff, it's a done data for you in the NFL. You have to at least make the playoffs and win at least 1 or 2 playoff games. Anything other than that is uncivilized at this point. It's unacceptable. But on that note, I'll let Frank go, man. Go ahead.
Okay. So I have been saying Aaron Rodgers for the longest time, coming back from injury, being with the Jets, having now a competent set of offensive weapons there. But recent developments is going to have me change a pick on this one. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what you were talking about, Champ, with the whole there's only a handful of wide receivers who can play with any quarterback and put up yards. I think it's Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson has the most to prove this year because we don't know who the hell this quarterback is going to be this year. So it's like Devontae Adams went to the Raiders, has had not the greatest quarterback play, has still been Devontae Adams, regardless of what you think. He's still been Devontae Adams. I mean, Tyreek Hill had Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. Goes to Miami. Granted, Tua is a good quarterback, but he's nowhere near Patrick Mahomes' level, and is still putting up ridiculous numbers. So he's shown he could downgrade a quarterback and still put up numbers. Justin Jefferson. Say what you want about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins over the last few years has been in the conversation as, top 10, borderline top 10 quarterback in the league, has put up great numbers, and Justin Jefferson's been one of the biggest beneficiaries of that. Mm-hmm. So I think Justin Jefferson, if he really wants to be in that, if he's in that upper echelon of being the elite of the elite wide receivers, like a lot of us feel we are, can he go out and still put up numbers having a quarterback who's not going to be as good as what he's used to having Kirk Cousins in Minnesota? I think, and especially getting that new contract, 4 years, $140 million, especially getting that new contract as well. So I think now the ball is in Justin Jefferson's court to show that he truly belongs top 3, top 4 conversation wide receivers in the league. Because like I said, Devontae Adams putting up numbers in Vegas, having horrible quarter. Oh, Lord, of course he puts up the Packers hat. Putting up, yeah. I mean, he leaves Aaron Rodgers, he goes to Vegas, still putting up numbers. Tyreek Hill leaves KC, go to Miami, put up numbers. Justin Jefferson is in this supposed to be in this tier. What can he do not having a good quarterback this year? I think recent developments has got me shifting on. I think Justin Jefferson has the most to prove this year.
All right. Flash.
First, a Leaf. You ever been to Lambeau?
I haven't. I'm supposed to go to Green Bay because they're having a draft next year. I gotta start getting tickets early. I gotta a couple of Packers fans. It's gonna be me and like 2 other Packers fans. I'm gonna meet up with some Giants fans over there. I don't despise the Giants. All right, I just think it's funny. I got an idea of why you do. It says it's all written on your hat. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Well, I was gonna let you know if you want to go to a Packer game this fall. Let me know because I got season tickets.
Oh, nice, cool, so, man. I just got to find my way to Wisconsin, man, because I still haven't been. The closest I've been to Wisconsin is probably I had a layover flight in Detroit. So
yeah, okay. If you can get here, I'll take you to a game, dude.
Appreciate it. But I'll definitely make my way, man. I've been a Packer fan since '95. I've got to make my way to at least one game, man. Definitely. I'm gonna try to get to one of them cold ones too.
I got you. I'll show you how to dress.
Yeah. I got the gold drip and everything. I got the cheese. I got all my fits over here, man. I got my Packers. My girlfriend got me this Packers pullover right here. Of course, man. I got the hat. I got the pants somewhere up in here, man. I'll find them. But yeah, I definitely got a whole line.
Looking like MC Hammer, ain't you damn?
Yeah.
Whoa, what?
I think that's a good one, Sam. He said he looking like MC Hammer.
Shit.
Yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate it, Flash.
Yeah, no problem, dude. I love taking dudes to their first game at Lambeau. It's especially if you're a Packer fan, you've never been to one. it's a cool experience. I don't think there's any stadium like it. So even though they've kind of redone the outside, and it's not like as well, there's a stadium in the middle of a little suburb anymore. It's still like that, but not as much as it used to be. Because I've been going to games since I was 8 years old, and so yeah, it's been they've been in my family since the '60s. So
you've been
to no Mercedes-Benz stadium.
What? No.
No. It ain't nothing like that. No. It ain't nothing like
that.
Listen, hand to God, man. My parents went to a concert down there, and they seen it. It wasn't to a football game. I think they went to a concert down there, and they said that stadium was absolutely gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is beautiful. Have you been to a game in Foxborough?
Yeah, 2. I was actually at the 2013 Manning versus Brady, where the Broncos were to nothing at halftime, and Brady and the Patriots came back.
That was a good one. I despise everything Tom Brady stand for, but I mean that was a good game.
And then I was at the home opener, the last Brady's last year in New England. I was at that home opener on Sunday night or Monday night, or no, that was the opener. So it was Thursday.
I got a funny story.
Thursday night game. It was Brady's last really good game in New England. They played Pittsburgh and just smoked them.
I got a funny story for you. So my dad, he been a Jets fan all his life. Yeah. So he been a fan since he's 60 years old. He's 60 years old, and he was around when the Jets won their first and last championship. So he been a Jets fan. So we go to a game, right? The Jets. I think that was the year that they either had Sam Darnold or at quarterback, and that was like a week before he caught mono, and Patriots fans start flooding the building. I'm so serious. Almost every one of them had on 28-3 shirts on. Champ, you're going to hate this. They had on 28-3 shirts on. And on the back, they had 34 to 28. I had 34 to 31 shirts.
I think one of my first interactions with Champ, it's got to be like a couple of years ago now. I think I apologized in the comments section for that. For that Super Bowl, I was like,
yeah. I mean, it's a punchline. It is all. No, that wasn't the best memory I had of Flash, man. Best memory I have of Flash, man, is a video about to break up the Jay Cardigan video. That was the funniest.
Oh, that one.
That was the funniest thing ever. Because the guy was saying, "Hey man, which wrestling store would you risk it all for?" And I moved out of the way. I said, "There's only one correct answer to be showing Jay Cardigan." But hey, let's get back to this PH game, man.
Okay, let me. Yeah, I'll get. Okay, so I'm going a little bit of a different route here. I had a list of players and actually a couple of coaches that I wanted to touch on who has the most to prove, and I'm going to go a completely different route and not even do any of those. It's the league and the refs. They have the most to prove. After making that stupid drop tackle rule, how are they going to call this? Are you going to literally ruin the game? Are you going to ruin the physicality of what is the most beloved sport in America right now? Are you going to basically make what I said when that rule was put through? Are you going to ruin? Are we going to have to put an asterisk after every offensive record now? Are we going to have to put an asterisk by Super Bowl championships now because you've tilted the favor to the offense so much because of a stupid rule, because two guys hurt their ankles? They need to prove, in my opinion, that they're not going to allow that rule to ruin the game. So the league and the refs have the most to prove. And honestly, I think the refs, after the last couple of years in general, they have a lot to prove going into this season. And now with this new added rule, so what are you going to do, league? Are you going to, that's my big take. Are you gonna make this league? Is this going to be football, or are we like what I know Champ mentioned it too when that rule was enacted? Are we going to go to flag football? Are we on our way to that? Which nobody wants, including the players. So that's my who's got the most to prove. It's the league and the refs.
All right, I have to ask you this, man. I have to ask you this. I've been waiting to ask somebody this question. Do you think this? Look, let's just be real about this. Last year was one of the most mid years for quarterbacks and offense that we've seen. Usually we see lighted up offense every single year. We see it. We've seen 5,000 yards passing. We see offense out of the behind. Do you think them implementing that rule was a direct response to defense, arguably? Because this was arguably one of the best defensive years you ever want to see. One of the best defensive, and it seems like the defense have finally caught up to the offense at a certain point. Do you think that was a direct response of, the defense finally catching up to the offense? And I'm like, okay, we got to even the playing field because we don't want to end up with these defensive games that we did back in the 80s and the 90s that everybody loved, by the way, but, the casual fans enjoy scoring. Do you think that's in response to that hip drop?
I think it could be. I think anytime that you have a league with Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, the list goes on and on and on. And you have the year that they just came off of collectively at the quarterback position, which I gave it a C minus to be nice, to be honest with you, in terms of the overall quarterback play. Mm-hmm. I definitely think the rule had something to do with it, like Flash was talking about. But let's be honest, man. Defenses are going to catch up sooner or later. They're getting more athletic. They're getting more speedy. You got more speed linemen now. You got more speed linebackers, and you got more heavy hitting safeties. You got more versatile defensive players in this league. It's not like the old school where you just went all in on power and guys that could just lift you up off the line. I was watching the 30 for 30 champ. You're gonna like this. It's called the Minister of Defense. Obviously, it's about the late great Packer great, Mr. Reggie White, and they talked about the move that he had where he basically used your center of gravity and just forearmed you one to a time and got to the quarterback. And he used that from 1980, what was it, 1986, 85, 86, all the way to 1998, 13 years, two different defensive players of the years for two different franchises. I don't think that's ever been done. So in reality, I think defenses is supposed to catch up with the offense. I don't think it's supposed to be an overlapping gap. And I think the NFL kind of saw that and kind of somewhat nipped it in the bud with that rule. But I don't think this is going to stop. I think defenses is going to continue to adjust, and they're going to continue to get more athletic. They're going to continue to catch up. It is what it is.
I hope so. I also think so. Champ, you made a video recently, last couple of days about. I think it was the last couple of days. I just watched. I think today actually about that the Brady, Big Ben, Rodgers, Manning era is the greatest quarterback era of all time.
Yeah, the 80s are a solid second.
Yeah, and the 80s. Yeah. So I look at this past year because I'm looking at the passing leaders. We still had 10 guys over 10,000 yards. Or I'm sorry, at 10,000 yards. 10 guys over 4,000 yards passing. And so the stats are still there. I think Dak we had Dak, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and Jared Goff all over 30 touchdown passes. I think why it seemed not as great is we're in a transition period from that era. Mm-hmm. Manning's gone now. Brady just retired. Rodgers hasn't. Yeah, he's getting there. He's not what he used to be, and he's got a lot to prove this year. We're seeing. Mahomes is basically Mahomes and everybody else right now, but you do have guys on the rise. So, you do have Josh Allen, you do have Jordan Love, you do have, if there still is Lamar Jackson, but I also think it's a different breed it's a different breed of quarterback now. Like look at Jalen Hurts, who's considered one of the better quarterbacks in the league now. He's not a typical drop back passer anymore. So we're seeing a different evolution of the game where quarterbacks are now becoming more consistent dual threats. And I think that's playing a part in it as well with the downtick of a little bit of the passing stats. But you still have guys like, Trevor Lawrence needs to step up and get to where he's supposed to be. Justin Herbert, if this coaching takes him I refuse to say Los Angeles, San Diego, the San Diego Chargers. They're always going to be the San Diego Chargers. Anywho, he's got the stats and he's had the stats as he ascended that level. So does that next crop that's under all the young guys under Mahomes, like kind of take that next step or two? Because it's there. We got CJ Stroud too. Do these guys now get to them like right under Mahomes level, and then you see all the stats go up? Because I don't think it's a defensive catching up thing. I just think we've seen a transition from literally the all-time greatest era of quarterbacks and those guys getting older and retiring to now the young guys kind of taking over. And yeah, the defenses have adjusted, but I don't know if it was an answer to the stats. I think it's a good theory, but I don't know. I think it's a more of a nuanced reason why we saw stats down a little bit.
You know what? And I think you made a good point with a lot of the dual threat quarterbacks I guess in some sort of way doing a little bit too much of everything or trying to do a little bit too much of everything. But CJ Stroud was a breath of fresh air last year in terms of a guy that can stay in the pocket and have presence in the pocket as a rookie to do what he's done in that first year. And a lot of people believe that anybody could have filled that spot because all they needed was a quarterback. I watched the Texans the year before, and I'll be honest with you, I thought anybody could be okay, but not to that level.
Not like that.
No,
not like
that. And I think CJ Stroud, he blew the water, he blew the stratosphere off the roof in terms of what he can do in the pocket and in terms of what he did statistically.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm looking at which will now be the third Hall of Fame quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love. What he was able to do when the play calling was actually right and when he was actually handing the ball off to two, and not one, but two running backs in the backfield, and he was actually using that as well. So I think we're getting back to somewhat of the traditional style of quarterbacks just with those guys in general. But I think it's probably going to continue because you don't want these quarterbacks to just do a little bit of everything, because even though Mahomes has basically maxed out with the what is it now? 3 Super Bowls in 6 years? Three Super Bowls? Am I right about that? 3 Super Bowls in 6 years. I think he's maxed out what a dual quarterback is able to do without the quote unquote traditional mechanics of a standstill quarterback and of a pocket presence quarterback. Because let's be honest, bro, like it's a lot of people. If you first look at Patrick Mahomes, you would swear this shit is backyard. Excuse me, you would swear it's backyard football. What he's doing, if you just looked at him from first.
Yeah, he actually the way not a lot of people say this. Well, I want to at one point too. Also, at the same time last year, Joe Burrow was hurt for most of the year too. So we were lacking another top flight quarterback.
Oh my God!
Stats were down.
Oh my God!
But Mahomes plays a lot, a lot closer to what Brett Favre was. Brett Favre was that gunslinging backyard mentality, the way he would run around and throw the ball, and then when everybody says like, oh, we've never seen something like Patrick Mahomes before. Go back and watch Brett Favre and watch how he played, and it felt a lot like it was backyard football.
Yes.
So I think there's just a transition from the old guard to the new guard, and I think that's why we're seeing that. But I still think that the league really needs to hammer home how they call this, because one, they left this real wide open in a really vague way of how this rule is going to be handled. That basically is just going to be up to the referees' discretion. And that, can you imagine like the Super Bowl versus the Rams and the Titans, and that tackle by Mike Jones at the goal line, because that was a hip drop tackle.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that could have changed history.
If all of a sudden a yellow flag comes in and they just go, that first down at the 1 yard line. Nope, that's a hip drop tackle. Like
Eddie George runs in and we don't hear and we only remember the greatest show on turf that has a good team.
As a good team. We don't remember them as champions. Yep.
And again, I would have loved that because I love Steve McNair, but
I do too. But
Ed McNair was my guy, man. Rest in peace, man.
But that would have been in just a football sense a travesty if they would have if that rule would have been in place and that flag would have been thrown. That would have been
I definitely get what you're saying, Flash.
And I don't want that to happen at all. And if it does happen, I'm going to blow a gasket because I said it again. I need to see this. This is the first time in my lifetime I've ever gone, depending on how they call this penalty, I was almost like, you're ruining my game. You're ruining my passion. Well, almost to the point where like I wanted to protest and be like, you're taking this, you're effing with my childhood.
You're absolutely right. And Flash, while you speaking on it, but I'm gonna get on to my my most approved player before I go. I think you can't promote to the casuals the NFL the way you promote to the casuals with the NBA, because the thing is that like the NFL is not it's not a house of highlights league. It's not it's not a let's go watch Sports Center and see what happened league. You got to watch the whole game. You have to watch the whole game from beginning and out. And that's not this. You got to do the same with basketball. But basketball, the NBA in particular, is oversaturated with the casuals. Look online. You see shorts every day of somebody get dunked on, somebody get crossed, this, that, and the third. I don't think that the NFL you can't continue to water it down. And at the same time, defenses are drafting now, and defenders are getting more athletic and more versatile to keep up with the dual threat quarterbacks. You can't continue to do that at the same time because they're going to be like, "Yo, y'all handcuffing us, and y'all doing it blatantly." With that drop tackle rule, it's clearly blatantly because now it's to the point like, "Yo, the defenses got better to at least do something about the dual quarterbacks." But yet you put handcuffs on them again. You put shackles on them again with that rule. You know what I'm saying? And to get to my I guess to get to my most approved, damn champ, you made a good point with Deshaun Watson. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I'm gonna have to go with all of the top AFC quarterbacks outside of Patrick Mahomes. Somebody got to step up and take the crown. Somebody got to step up and knock KC off. Listen, and I talked about this on PSP channel, PSP channel, and I said I watched Josh Allen play the game of his life a couple of years ago against Kansas City, and I knew he wasn't going to win that game. It was just something about Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes at that time. You cannot leave nothing on that clock. Nothing. And I thought Josh Allen played the game of his life. And I'm pretty sure y'all all remember it. He was going back and forth with them with the last 2 minutes and touchdown. They gave up one. Touchdown. They gave up one. The Buffalo Bills defense sold them that game. But ever since that game, you have had a rule change for you to go, and then you played the home game in Cincinnati. You blew that, and then this past year we all saw what happened. Josh Allen, yo, you on the clock. You are on the clock big time. Lamar Jackson, you are on the clock big time. 2 MVPs, and you can't make it out of the AFC, and you can't get out of the AFC. You on the clock as well. You probably the best talent at the dual quarterback outside of Patrick Mahomes. You gotta get it done, bro. Joe Burrow, you gotta prove that you're not a one-hit wonder. You gotta prove that you got Jamar Chase, you got the weapons, You got to prove that you could get out of the black and blue conference, which is the AFC North, and do something. Champ, you already spoke on Deshaun Watson, and I think another person to speak on that nobody's bringing up, Justin Herbert. One playoff game. That's all you got, bro. One playoff game, and now you got Jim Harbaugh as coach.
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna do? You got the numbers, you got everything. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? And that moves me to Tua. What you gonna do? You got the offense, you got the pieces. Somebody out of this pool of quarterbacks in the AFC has got to step up. They got it. Somebody has got to prove that Mahomes ain't the only person in here. Somebody.
I like that. I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of teams and people to prove, we all know about the other team out of the NFC that everybody loves to talk about. They all love talking about the San Francisco 49ers. They love talking about the Dallas Cowboys, but they also love talking about the city of brotherly love and the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. So my question, quick, plain and simple, is a Super Bowl a bust for the Philadelphia Eagles at this point? I mean, quick question, quick answer. Let's start with you, Lee.
Bust. We have watched the Philadelphia Eagles last year go from a top team to the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers in no time. This is bust. I'm not buying this at all. They too much stuff to refill on that roster. Bust. Get them out of here.
Flash.
No, I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think that we've got, over the last 20 years or so, we've been spoiled. 25 years, we've been spoiled by Brady and Mahomes, and we think winning a Super Bowl is just easy now. I don't think it's a Super Bowl or bust. I think they're one of the better teams. I think right now it's Mahomes and the Chiefs and everybody else. So it's basically who gets a shot at them. So they're still going to be very competitive. They're still going to be one of the top teams in the NFC. Is it bust? No. I had a buddy say to me that what Brady did and Belichick did in New England almost ruined how special and hard it was to win a ring. And now Mahomes and Reed are kind of doing it too. And I don't think it's a Super Bowl or bust. You'd be silly to break up that team if they don't make it and you just we're just going to break it all up. I don't think, and especially the NFC, I don't think the gap between the top three teams in the NFC right now are basically, I would assume, top four teams, Green Bay, Detroit, San Francisco, and Philly. I don't think the gap between all four of those is that wide between where you just go, you guys, we lost in the divisional round to San Francisco. Let's just pack it in. So, no. Sorry, that was a little bit of a longer answer. I apologize.
Please don't bring that up. Please don't bring that up.
Frank, Super Bowl or bust for the Philadelphia Eagles, or you have other ideas?
No, I don't. I agree. The reason why I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust is because I feel like, I do agree with Flash. Your top four is basically them, Green Bay, San Francisco, and Detroit. But I feel like all three of those teams right now at this stage are better than the Philadelphia Eagles right now. So that's the reason why I don't think it's necessarily Super Bowl or bust. It'd be one thing if they were definitively the best team in the NFC, but you can make a case that the fourth out of those four teams in the NFC, you can kind of make a case for them. So it's I guess if you want to put them in front of anybody, possibly Green Bay, but that's it. So that's why I don't think it's necessarily Super Bowl. I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust because they're not the best team in the NFC, right? They're not the best team in the NFC. So, that's why I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think San Francisco's better. I think Detroit's better. So, no, I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust.
Okay. Hey, I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust for him, man. I think that NFC's wide open right about now. NFC's wide open right about now. But they better get further than the second round, especially with the addition of Saquon Barkley.
I'm telling you right now, champ. Don't really expect nothing from the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year's fall off was by far one of the biggest like we talking about one of the biggest suicide dives in history. They started the season 11-1, and they did not look like an A+ team during that time at all.
Not to mention the turnovers that Jalen Hurts had going on. I think I brought that up during Brandon's show. Shout out to Brandon from the block, by the way. I brought that on Brandon's show because it was nasty last year. They was talking about Josh Allen last year and his turnover problem. Jalen Hurts was turning the ball over like Arby's on a Sunday evening. So, I mean, it was crazy how he was turning the ball over, but the media wasn't really giving him flack for that. But they was giving Josh Allen all type of hell for that. So, that was interesting, but with the additions that they made on this team on the offensive side of the ball, granted, you cannot replace Jason Kelsey on the offensive line. You still have an all-star offensive line. You upgraded at the running back position as far as running backs. You went and got Saquon. You got weapons on this team. So, and you have a new offensive coordinator at this point in time.
What about the defense, champ? Come on.
The defense remains to be seen. But these young guys, look, they drafted those guys from Georgia for a reason. I will say that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they develop. But you know what? But there's this one subject, man.
What's up?
That's just been sticking in my craw the last few years. And I picked the perfect panel in order to talk about this.
This ought to be good.
The biggest injustice for the NFL MVP. What year did the wrong guy win? I'm going to go first. 1990 MVP race. Joe Montana, Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon.
Who won that?
Randall Cunningham or Warren Moon should have won that MVP. I understand that Joe Montana was the face of the league that year, but during that year, Randall Cunningham had passed for over 3,000 yards, had 30 touchdowns, and rushed for over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground.
Right.
Warren Moon threw for over 46,000 yards and threw for 33 touchdowns. Now, he won Offensive Player of the Year, but I think one of those guys should have won. Now, granted, Joe was the face of the league. He was coming off of a repeat. I mean, he was going for the three-peat during that year because that was the year of the three-peat. Everybody thought that was going to be the first team to three-peat, but I really feel like that either Warren Moon or Randall Cunningham should have won that year. That was the biggest injustice in MVP history for the NFL to me. But
right, what was Warren Moon numbers that year? You said
Warren Moon's numbers. Let me go to it real quick because I had them up on my phone. Warren Moon that year had 4,689 yards, 33 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and 200 yards on the ground.
God damn.
Randall Cunningham had 3,446 yards, 30 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Also had 945 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Joe Montana that year had 3,900 yards, passing 26 touchdowns, 16 interceptions.
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna cut my camera off real quick. I'll be right back. I'll let y'all go, but I'll be back.
So I really feel like during that period of time that either Warren Moon or Randall Cunningham. So, like I said, I understand the logic of the NFL during that time. Joe's the face of the league. This is the most prolific offense we have seen. You have arguably the greatest. You coming off repeat championships. This is arguably the greatest team of all time. Jerry Rice is at his peak. You're at your peak. You just couldn't get a better team than the 90s 49ers. I understand. And that goes back to the NBA's, kind of narrative. Right. Is it really the best player or is it the best player on the best team? And that year, it was the best player on the best team, which was Joe Montana. Unfortunately, he got hurt at the end, which was the reason why.
Right. That was the year that he got hurt against the Giants, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, he got hurt that year, which I'm going to tell you this. People talk about if the Buffalo Bills during that time, they wasn't going to win anyway because they just better be glad Joe Montana didn't make it to the Super Bowl because they got blown out. So I'm just going to be real about
Buffalo had that game. Come on now.
No, I'm talking about Buffalo had that game. But the thing is, They should be glad that the 49ers didn't make it to the Super Bowl instead of the Giants. They would have got ran off the field. I'm just being honest.
Oh, that Niner team, that 89, 88, 89, 99, that Niner team was
spectacular. That was a well-oiled machine.
Go watch that. One of my guilty pleasures is watching that 89 Super Bowl between the Niners and the Broncos. And you think it wouldn't be entertaining, but so my big thing is quarterbacks over the years. Like that's what I love. That's the thing that I love. I've studied the position. I think that is one of the most perfect games ever played by a quarterback in any game ever, and that's Montana.
What did Elway do in that game? I forgot, man.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely. But go watch that, and Montana was just he that whole playoff run by him was
that Denver defense any good?
Oh yeah,
the thing is that
Denver defense was massive.
Yeah,
no, that defense was great.
That's what makes it that much crazier.
Yeah, they had Rulon Jones, they had Carl Mecklenburg, they had Steve Atwater, they had Dennis Smith. They had a lot of great guys on that defensive side of the ball. Not to mention the narrative that the narrative that and I will say this, the narrative that John Elway never had in the weapons is a myth.
Bobby Humphrey was a really good.
Humphrey was good.
And then not only that, remember the three amigos?
Yeah, Vance Johnson. Ricky
Vance was pretty good.
Ricky Smith. Yeah.
Ricky Smith.
I don't remember Ricky, but I remember Vance. I remember Humphrey.
The whole narrative that he never had any weapons, that was a flat out myth. Because he had that defense.
The defense, did they have Atwater?
Yeah, Atwater, Rulon. Remember, that was his rookie year when he came out.
Right.
Yeah, when he came, after he had a hell of a rookie year.
It was Vance Johnson,
right.
Vance Johnson, Ricky Nattiel, and Mark Jackson.
Yeah, the three amigos.
Yeah, the three amigos.
Yeah.
No, he had talent. Like he had talent around him, and that was the Montana Elway thing was very much like the Brady Manning argument in the early years. Montana was winning the rings, but Elway was the more talented quarterback.
Right.
And so, but
I mean, the AFC at that time was like that was a crapshoot. Like who came out? I think if I remember, I think Cincinnati came out one year. Denver came out.
Was in that, yeah.
Denver came out. Not once or twice. I think New England, Miami. They had one with Dan Marino got the one, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
But the thing is, back then, people don't realize this. Back in the 80s, the AFC was loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah,
you had Warren Moon, you had Warren Moon, you had Jim Kelly, Elway. Then you had your flash in the pan type quarterbacks and Boomer Esiason. Then you had Bernie Kosar, which was a hell of a quarterback. And you had a cornucopia of guys that could really get you there in the AFC. It's just
compared to this AFC, compared to this AFC, but like we talking about all the guys that we just mentioned. When you mentioned Deshaun Stevenson, Tua, Herbert, and I mean those some and talented in terms of the AFC back in the 80s. I think Elway, Marino, obviously Elmo Marino, all-time greats. Who else? In the AFC,
Jim Kelly.
Yeah, Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly, all-time great.
And then for
all-time great.
For a while in the early 80s, you had Dan Fouts.
Dan Fouts. Dan Fouts was pretty good in his day. Boomer was a flash in the pan.
Ken O'Brien wasn't a bad quarterback with the Jets. Like he led
the league in passer rating.
Like that dude could go. There were some Miami.
My dad hates him, bro. He's like,
I understand why. He'll throw interception in a minute.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
but that dude could go but that dude. There were a lot of times where he could go toe to toe with Marino in the passing game. Like there were a couple games where they went head to head, and it was.
I believe you, but my dad vividly remembers when the Jets started 4-0, and Dan Marino hit him with the fake spike. Yeah. And then they lost every game after that.
Yeah. Your poor father.
I can't even think of an MVP race off the top of my head. Damn. Oh man, Flash, you got one?
Yeah, I got one. I just brought him up. Dan Fouts. The 1982 NFL season that was shortened by a strike.
Oh.
A kicker, Mark Mosley, won the MVP when it should have been Dan Fouts in 1982.
What?
Yeah, that was the first last time a quicker run.
Yeah.
Let me get my other phone. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Time out. Where the hell
Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I think the league only played 9 games.
A kicker?
Kicker, Mark Mosley for the Washington Redskins. Yep.
Oh, shit.
Washington Commanders.
Oh, I'm gonna say Washington. I'm gonna just say Washington. So,
that's the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest travesty. Because one, I think Dan Fouts had a great career, and
definitely.
And I think he deserved an MVP. Even though if you look back at his stats, they weren't that great, but it was they only played 9 games. My honorable mention, just because I have to bring it up, because it's my boy. Brady should have won the 2021 NFL MVP over Aaron Rodgers, hands down.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't go over the stats.
No.
Absolutely.
No.
Yep. Over the stats right now. So let's see. So they both had basically an even record. They both won 13 games that year. They had almost Rodgers had a 1 point better completions percentage at 68.9. Brady had over 1,200 yards more. They averaged basically the same yards per attempt. Brady averaged 312 yards per game. Rodgers had averaged 257. Brady had more touchdowns, a little bit more picks. Passer is a little bit more by Rodgers, but also Brady did it at 44 years old. I'm sorry.
You know what?
Oh, okay. All right. You know what? Because listen. Somebody brought this up to me, and I had to think about it because I know a lot of Brady fans for some odd reason. So he was like, "Yo, you got away with murder. You know your boy got away with some murder, right?" And obviously, I'm a Packer fan. I'm like, "Bro, what are we talking about? We know Aaron Rodgers is the safe bet when it comes to MVP. In terms of making the safe throws and not making mistakes, at least for his Green Bay career, for the most part of it, bro. Like he was very good at that. He was very good at playing it safe, as opposed to Brett Favre, who would take more chances. And I think that's what made him arguably one of the most efficient rating quarterbacks probably of all time. And I think it went and once the QBR stat finally came into fruition, I think it benefited him more than anybody else. I mean, I appreciate what Brady had done at that age, but at that time, I think QBR was key. And a lot of the metric stats was key. And I think touchdowns and interceptions. I don't want to say it became an afterthought, but I think it took a backseat to QBR at especially the early portions of this decade in the late 2010s. So I think that was more of a reason for why Aaron Rodgers does have more what is it? 4 MVPs, 4 regular season MVPs.
I think Rodgers deserved the one the year before. I just think the 2021 should have gone to Brady. I don't. He had better stats. He did it at 44 years old.
All right. we got a stat for how old you are.
He was doing things at that age that nobody had ever done.
Right. We got a stat for how old you are.
Flash. I love you, bro. But I'm not giving anything to anybody outside of. I see 37-4. No, I'm giving that to Aaron. I'm giving. I mean, I get it, and trust me, because I get it. Tom Brady was putting up hella numbers that year. But if I see 37-4 and a touchdown interception ratio, no. No. I'm not giving it to anybody else but Aaron Rodgers that year. Nope. I see 37-4. I feel like that trumps so much. So
Like
no,
I'm like, what are we talking about? Like
I'm sorry.
Like, who does that?
Yeah, I'm giving that to Aaron Rodgers. Hey, 43 touchdowns is killer. Don't get me wrong, but when I look at that, interception ratio. It's just I'm
would tell
sorry.
you, Flash, in the regular season, he just didn't make mistakes like that. It was just if we talking about a quarterback that maxed out a career, like where he made the least amount of mistakes and gave you the most as far as QBR and as far as everything else across the board, Aaron Rodgers checks all of that. He does. Listen, we can talk about his playoff blunders all we want, and take it from me, they well documented. But as far as the regular season goes, 37-4. Anybody over the age of 36? No, I'm sorry.
BRF, who you think, man?
All right, so I might get a little flack for this, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway.
What's up?
Let's hear.
20. If I could make a legit case, I am a fan of Aaron Rodgers, but if I can make a case to where I would have given it to somebody else over him for MVP, it would have been 2014. I would have given it to JJ Watt that year. I would have given it.
I want to hear this. I want to hear this one.
20, bruh. The quarterbacks for the Houston Texans that year, you're looking at Case Keenum, you're looking at Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Ryan Mallett played some year that year, some for that squad. They went through 5-6 quarterbacks that year. Them boys still went 9-7. JJ Watt had 20.5 sacks. I'm talking about catching touchdowns, had a pick 6. I'm talking about JJ. I mean, the defense was 7th in the league. With them sorry ass quarterbacks they had, they still finished 9-7, and JJ Watt was like out in front, the unquestioned leader of that defense. What he was doing, basically toting them to a 9-7 record. I mean, if I could make a case for any year, it would be 2014, and I would have given it to JJ Watt just for the sheer fact he made the Houston Texans relevant that year, putting up some of the numbers he put up in 2014. I can make a case for JJ Watt in 2014.
Okay, but why,
and I
why
think he wins that MVP. I think he wins. The only reason he doesn't is because Justin Houston had more sacks that year.
Oh wow, right. I forgot about Justin Houston.
I forgot about it.
Yeah, Watt didn't win it. If Watt leads the league in sacks, I think he wins that MVP.
So Houston had how many that year? Like
Houston had 22?
Yeah, like
22 sacks.
Yeah, 22 sacks.
Yeah,
22.
22.
Okay.
Good God.
You
best player in the league. Damn, you be the best player in the league. I mean,
Justin Houston,
he had
underrated. Justin Houston, boy, underrated. Was a man among boys.
Very underrated. I'm a little bit mad that like he didn't turn into like he didn't have like an all-time great career. You know what I'm saying? Like he was definitely underrated for sure. BR, could you remind me what Aaron Rodgers did that year, 2014, since you bringing us up?
I think it was like 4,300, 38 touchdowns, 5 picks.
No, we serious.
And I think but still though, that's what I'm saying. If I'm looking at the term valuable, JJ Watt to Houston, just to even be in playoff contention for that long, this is where the value comes in.
I get what you're saying, but listen, I need to explain to y'all how spoiled I've been since 1995, man. Like I've had the luxury of watching this organization graduate 2 Hall of Fame all-time quarterbacks, 2 arguably top 10 quarterbacks of all time, and now it looked like we're working on a third.
Yeah.
I tell you, man. Listen, Aaron Rodgers. It was at a point where he was damn near throwing the ball out of bounds, and Jordy Nelson was catching shit anyway. I'm like, yo, come on, man.
You know
what are we doing here?
Another year, and I don't even. You know what? I'm a Falcons fan.
Oh boy!
But I gotta
say it, say it, champ, say it.
Come on, champ.
That 2011 season, Drew Brees should have won that MVP.
I agree.
Who won it that year?
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. All right. Oh, hold up. Wait a minute.
No, wait. This is Drew Brees' stats during that year. He had 5,476 yards, 46 touchdowns, led the league in passing yards per game with 342 a game, and then set the completion percentage record with 71.2. He led the league in every statistical category.
Honestly, here's the thing. It's only the only thing that Rodgers says is he throws like 6 picks.
He throws single-digit picks every time he wins an MVP.
I'm a Falcons fan. I'm a
diehard
Falcons fan, but I said Drew Brees got robbed that year.
Wait. If I'm not mistaken, we not only went 15-1 that season. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, he threw how many touchdowns did A-Rod throw that year?
45.
45 and 6, and how many yards?
4,600, and Brees had 5,400.
And 5,400. Brees had 5,400
yards. If
yards.
you're making the same argument for Brees, then it literally supports my argument for Brady. It's the same thing.
So wait. You mean to tell me y'all three up here, coincidentally, I'm a Packer fan, and y'all three picked the 3 arguments that Aaron Rodgers won all these.
Yeah, it's like
you
MVP.
No, you can't. You can't. You can't.
Look,
2021. I'm not. No, 2021. I'm not taking from Aaron Rodgers. But 2011 and 2014, you can't say aren't legitimate.
Come on, man.
So.
If the 2014 one is the same argument as the 2021 one. Now, look, I don't think it's like a slam dunk that it's the other guy for sure.
Yeah, it's like, just an injustice.
It's just
opinionated.
It's just I don't think it's like a I don't think it's like I think
I feel like I'm
not saying injustice. I'm just saying making cases. I don't think it's an injustice because I probably would have voted for him too.
This is a conspiracy to comprise to one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks of all time, man. Like somehow, some way, all 3 of y'all landed on 3 MVPs. Aaron Rodgers then got. Somehow, some way, where he threw not 4 interceptions one year, 5 interceptions another year, and 6 interceptions another year. What are we doing?
To be fair, I brought up the Dan Fouts one first.
Yeah, Dan Fouts. Yeah,
you did.
I did.
And Champ brought up the 1991. Yes,
yeah, 1990 MVP race.
Yeah. I have an honorable mention to get away from the Aaron Rodgers thing. I do have an honorable mention. I have an honorable mention. 1998. I would have given it to Jamal Anderson over Randall Cunningham. That's just me. You can make a case. You can make a case.
You know what, Champ? Listen, I know why you did what you just did just now, but Randall Cunningham in Minnesota. Listen, come on now.
Jamal Anderson was all the hell we had.
If we're talking about the definition, look. This is I go back to the whole value thing.
Right.
We
got to talk about Randall too.
Randall was amazing that year. But look at the offense that man had. You had rookie all-time great rookie Randy Moss. You still had Chris Carter putting up ridiculous numbers. Jake Reed was your number 3. You had Robert Smith in the backfield. We can't, and the offensive line was one of if not the best offensive lines in football. So I mean, it's not like the offense wasn't loaded. I mean, I'm just saying, look at the value.
Didn't
are you saying that Randall should have won it?
Yeah, we beat him in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, we beat him.
Beat him out.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Are we saying that Randall should have won it that year?
No, Jamal Anderson.
I would have given it to Jamal Anderson if we're looking at the definition of value. Because look at the next year, 1999, Jamal Anderson gets hurt. What happens to the Atlanta Falcons?
He didn't win it that year. Cunningham didn't win it that year.
No, he won the Associated Press Award. He won the Associated Press Award. The person who won it was Terrell Davis.
Yeah, Terrell Davis.
Randall Cunningham, he won the Associated Press Award.
Okay. I was
confused. But if I'm looking at Terrell Davis won it that year. But if I'm looking at it from like the definition of value, the Atlanta Falcons are absolutely crap without Jamal Anderson. I mean, he was basically the locomotive for that entire offense. The way they ran the play action, just the way that entire offense just bounced off of the way he ran the football and how it translated into their play action game. Jamal Anderson was it, because you saw the impact in '99 after he tore his first ACL. You saw that offense went into complete crap without him because they had no action pass, they had no play action pass, because they had no threat of a running game. Jamal Anderson literally, 1,846 yards, double-digit touchdowns. What killed him was the 400 plus carries. But that's what killed him.
The hell out of Jamal Anderson.
But I mean, well, if you want to be fair, him and Terrell Davis basically went through the same thing, because Terrell Davis was pretty much cooked after them 2 Super Bowls. And they was running backs to death during that time. I mean,
they really were.
Damn carries.
They really were.
There was a lot of damn carries.
Yes.
Hey, champ, I'm not disagreeing with you here. See, the thing about during that time, you had not also him, you had Eddie George that got ran to death. You got whatchamacallit that got ran to death. You got
Jerome Bettis literally got ran to death.
Jerome Bettis got ran to death.
Jerome Bettis got ran to death, and he lasted longer and wound up winning the championship with the Steelers. So yeah. I mean, it was a lot. That was the last of the great back era, if you want to say.
And Jerome Bettis still has, in my opinion, one of the greatest stat lines in the history of football. He had one game, 3 carries, 1 yard, 3 touchdowns.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Hey, before we go off the air right about now, because we finna end it on that note, DRF. Can you imagine if Jamal Anderson would have lasted until Vic got there?
Bro, if Jamal, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be honest with you. If Jamal Anderson stayed healthy up until Vic got there, and he got a few years with Vic,
it would have been ugly.
It'd have been something. I agree. It would have been something serious. My only takeaway, my only con with that, what the front office never really did for Vic until later, if they had went out and got him a true threat at wide receiver, because Vic's biggest thing was he didn't care enough to read the playbook, to read the offense. He just went off of God-given talent every Sunday, and that was his biggest detriment. Because you saw when he got to Philly, when he finally put effort into the playbook. Look at 2010. Look at what he became that one year when he put his full focus in a position. You saw him hit his ceiling, in my opinion. But I agree with you. I feel like the biggest thing still was they never gave him a legit threat. Because Peerless Price, we're not going to talk about him anymore.
No.
We're not going to talk about him. He came off of that one hit wonder year in Buffalo, and we signed. I'm telling you, they signed him, and you talking about Falcons fans? We were excited. It was like, oh my God, we finally got somebody,
bro. Before I end the show, man, look, I'm gonna tell you this. When they traded for Peerless Price, I told everybody and their mama that dude is a second receiver. The only reason why he was shining in Buffalo because he had Eric Mose on the other side of him, and then Jake Reed was his third receiver. When he came down there, and the thing was, the only thing he had going for him was speed. He really wasn't a good route runner.
So he was a return man.
Which honestly, I did not mind because I mean, you already had like a run. You had like the running game there. You had Ward. You had TJ. You kind of already had the running. You had the running game there. The play action would have been perfect because Peerless Price. All he got to do is be competent. Just be a competent receiver. Take the top off the defense. You're not gonna he can't. Vic can't outthrow you. I mean, you're not gonna overshoot him. Peerless Price is a demon speed wise, so you can't overthrow him. But it was just like
I got one question for y'all since y'all rep the Falcons. All right, start, bench, or cut. Jamal Anderson, Devontae Freeman, or Michael Turner.
Champ, you go first.
Michael Turner, Jamal Anderson, Dan Freeman.
Okay, you're cutting Devontae Freeman.
Yeah,
you cut.
I didn't like his running style. And
I love this running style. Okay.
Those two guys, look, when you think about carrying the load, look at what Michael Turner did his first few years in Atlanta.
I agree.
He was a catalyst for how Matt Ryan and how he could develop it because he took a hell of a lot of pressure off of him.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
They call him the burner Turner for a reason. When you think about impact, Jamal Anderson.
Right.
When you think about the minute after Mike Shanahan, the minute after Kyle Shanahan got the hell on, that's when Freeman.
You feel like Bijan is better than Devontae?
Yes.
He's Devontae with a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
He's got the same skill set, but his ceiling is way higher than Devontae's.
Yeah.
But here's my thing though. The reason, I agree about the starting. I'm starting Michael Turner.
Right.
I'm benching, but because of the all-around game that Devontae Freeman still brought with him, whether Kyle Shanahan was there or not, I'm benching him and I'm cutting Jamal.
I'm definitely clipping this shit.
I don't care. As great as the reason why I like Devontae Freeman.
Y'all have some great running backs, bro. Like over down there, man.
But see, but here's the thing though. Here's my thing though. What people sleep on Devontae Freeman about is his two-way game. It was his ability to run, but the fact that he was a running back can actually run receiver routes, had good hands to catch the ball. That's why I'm benching Devontae Freeman, because he gives you more to an offense, not just passing, but catching, not just rushing, but catching the ball as well. As great as Jamal Anderson was, he was just a runner. He was a power back, but he was just a runner. Devontae could get you 1,300 yards rushing, but could also get you 600, 700, 800 yards receiving. He was a legitimate 1,000 threat. That's why I'm benching Devontae. That's why I'm benching Devontae and I'm cutting Jamal. It has nothing to do with his talent, but it's what he brought to the table from a full offensive game.
Champ, you fighting that?
You know what, man? On that note, it's time for me to end the show. We're gonna talk more about this.
but he can't. He can try to get away, but he can't. Devontae he try to get away, but he can't dispute the points. He can't dispute the points.
We're gonna talk more about this a little bit later.
There's no way you fighting that.
You know what, man? You know what? I'm clipping that. This is gonna go an all-time clip. I want to see what they gonna say about this.
Let them, and this is what I say. You clip it, you put it on TikTok, you can put it on IG. I dare somebody to come at me like I'm crazy. I get them every time. They're not talking me off that ledge. They're not doing it.
I'm not.
You mean to tell me? Wait a minute, Leaf. Wait. Out of Jamal Anderson, Michael Turner, and Devontae Freeman, you starting Michael Turner, which I get.
Yeah. Yes.
And you are benching
I'm benching Devontae Freeman. Yes.
Jamal Anderson?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
Now, in terms of all around football player, I get what he's saying.
That's
in terms of running back. I get what you're
saying. Pure running the ball, absolutely not. I'm taking Jamal Anderson over Devontae Freeman. Pure running the ball. But Devontae Freeman, the way he translated to the way the game was played, like when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl in 2016 and all of that, it's just that his all-around game is why I really like Devontae Freeman. And why people need yes, exactly, which is why people need to stop sleeping on Devontae Freeman.
Wait, hold up. Give it a rest, champ. You're not fighting that. Give it a rest, champ. You're not fighting.
I'm not fighting no more. I'm gonna let the people decide on that one, man. On that note, man, we're gonna talk more about this. That's gonna be a segment on next week's show right here, man. We're gonna set the tone with that one.
I'm telling you, I wanted Devontae on my team. I ain't gonna lie. Now, listen, our running back history is not that great. It's damn sure ain't the great as y'all's.
Well, no, y'all, we started off with William Andrews, but no, wait a minute. You had Ryan Grant. He was good.
Ryan Grant, Amon Green,
Edward Bennett. You had Thompson.
Green Bay, Dorsey Levens. Green Bay's got a good history of running backs. Y'all got a good history of running backs.
Amon Green, the fumbling machine.
He had 100 damn yards. What more do you want?
Yeah, like don't like. I will. No offense.
We gonna have some more discussions about this, man. You know what?
I mean, our running back history to y'all running back history. I gave y'all 4 running backs that like literally blew the roof off of like the water.
Y'all had Edgar Bennett. You had Thompson, Dorsey Levens, Armand Green. Then you had as much as
Ryan Grant.
You know, what's the other guy's name?
We had whatchamacallit? We had
Sam Gatto. Sam Gatto, he had a few good years.
We had whatchamacallit this past year.
I mean, you've had Aaron Jones the past few years.
Aaron Jones. Hey, Aaron Jones 3 years ago was like a borderline MVP candidate. Like everybody,
he was.
Yeah, so like
he was.
Like if you look at the Green Bay, hell, in the 70s we had John Brockington. Like let's go through like
then Charlie Taylor, Paul Horney.
You going way back. That's
Jim Taylor, Tony Canadino.
I remember Edgar Bennett. I remember Dorsey Levens. I remember Amon Green. I remember Ryan Grant. I remember obviously Aaron Jones. I remember we had Ty Montgomery taking the snaps.
Yeah.
I remember we had Montgomery running the ball, and he was technically a wideout.
Yeah, but you know what, man? On that note, man, I'm gonna give everybody a preview of the next week's show. Richest quarterback team in NFL history coming next week.
Ooh.
Richest quarterback team in NFL history. You can rest assured that the San Diego Chargers will be a part of that. But on that note, I will end this show. Shout out to Columbus, Georgia. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Brooklyn. And Flash, shout out to your hometown as well, out there in Wisconsin. We will end the show on that note. We are out. We will see you next week. And we will holler.
Yes.